concept. You have a great concept. You guys are doing it, man. And it's an honor for me to just be, a small rock, man, in your mountain. I'm going to pop a top in your honor. Mr. Doc Walker blessed us with his presence and knowledge.
We want to welcome in our next special guest, Haley Skarupa. She's a three-time world champion in women's ice hockey and most recently won Olympic gold with Team USA.
The Cap Stadium Series is definitely my favorite, obviously. I'm a huge Caps fan, I always have been, and to be there at that game with my teammates and for us to bring, our gold medals to there and share it with everyone in this area was really, really special for me, and just the support and it's been tremendous from everyone in this area, and you can feel that there at that game.
Welcome to Sports on the Hill podcast. Hashtag DC Sports Without the Politics with Carol and Robbie on True Radio Network.
And welcome to episode 361 of Sports on the Hill podcast. Sorry, we were having a bit of technical difficulties, but I think that we've got it all figured out right now. We're trying to stream on 4 platforms at once, which some weeks work better than others. So just double checking to make sure that we are live, and it does seem like we are, which is great. Welcome on into the Twitch people. Sorry for the delay. You guys actually have been on for the last 15 minutes. I really appreciate Sith Lord Dan for being a part of chat for the first hour. He's going to be joining us in the second hour as we talk about the huge Commanders victory. We have titled this Commanders and Ravens NFL Playoff Victory Monday. And never in the history of the DMV have both the Ravens and the Commanders won a playoff game in the same weekend. It's just never happened. And for people who like me, who is a fan of both teams, it's obviously an incredible experience. I know a lot of people are a fan of one or the other. Both of them could be independently happy. I'm happy for both. And I know that Gil, you kind of root for both teams as well, and support them, but more Ravens, right? Is that where you lean, or where do you find yourself?
Yeah, I actually grew up watching them both. The Colts left, the old Colts left when I was in grade school. But yeah, I grew up watching them both, and then we had all those years without a team in Baltimore, and then the Ravens came back. The old Browns came back as the Ravens. So I kind of have a mixed history. So yeah, I lean close to Ravens since geographically they're closer, but I mean, in my heart, I grew up watching Joe Theismann and John Riggins and those guys. So my heart's with them both. So
yeah. That's great. That's how I feel too. I know, C4, you say you watch football, but you don't necessarily have a dog in the fight. Have you been watching any of the playoffs so far?
I've watched some of it, yeah. Mostly because Marcus usually has it on in the background. But I grew up sort of a Patriots fan because my family being from Massachusetts, but then, with Ken, followed the Redskins through that time, and now I just like to see a good football game. I don't particularly care who wins or loses as long as it's a fair, full.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know that many people that are just fans of the sport that don't have a team. So that's cool. I think that's a unique perspective to have. I was born during a Redskins Cowboys game, so my decisions were literally at halftime. So that is
You were predetermined.
Yeah, I'm predetermined to like this sport and that team. And it's been 20 years since we've had a win in the playoffs. And ironically enough, it also happened in Tampa Bay. They are a team that we play often in the playoffs, which is interesting. And weirdly enough, the road team seems to always win. The last 2 road victories for the Commanders, or Redskins, or whatever they were called at the time, were there. And then the last couple, some of the big victories for Tampa Bay have actually been over Washington, in Washington, including Tom Brady en route to his last Super Bowl with them. So right. It's just interesting to see how it goes. We also have a live NFL playoff game going on. The LA Rams are up 10-3 over Minnesota. Minnesota actually thought they had tied the game up a little bit earlier, but it was called back I had this Wizards Timberwolves game on, and it was very exciting. Going into the third, it was like a 3-point game, Gil. And wouldn't you know it, the second we're about to go live, it just nosedive immediately.
Wizards doing Wizards things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so now they're down 16 with 1 minute and 22 seconds left. So I'm about to switch back to Raw, which I was also had on. And yeah, it's uh yeah, that might be more interesting. But anyway, lots of different sports going on. We've had a very exciting week for Capitals fans in the sense that we were playing not so great, but yet gaining standings points. So if this is the lull that we have to have in January, and this does often happen to us as the calendar shifts and this sort of in between time before we get to the All-Star game. But this is, you want to continue to gain points and, adversity and playing in these close games. If you take a page out of the Commanders book, they played a lot of close games this year and it served them very well come the playoffs. And so similar things could happen to the Capitals. You don't want to It's never good if it's too easy through the regular season. Almost all the good teams have a little bit of adversity. We think of our own Stanley Cup run. We faced a lot of adversity that year,
Right.
including Holtby not even being our starting goalie going into the playoffs. So, that's why it's important to have two good goalies and stuff like that. I'm going to fill my water up a little bit more, Gil, but I want you to let people know what has happened on the latest episode of the Power Play Point podcast, and then we'll chat for a second about what we did on Saturday, and then we'll get into the week that was for the Capitals.
Okay, so yes, our most recent episode, as we record Sunday evenings, is out. Now we start out, of course, on something of a down note. We have to say, we spend the first 20 minutes of the podcast going over a couple of down events. First, of course, the wildfires in LA. We both happen to have people we know that were affected by that. Anna more than me,
My friend's
honestly.
daughter lives out there and she had to evacuate.
Yeah, it's like I said, everybody knows somebody that at least knows somebody that's out there that is dealing with that, I'm sure. So I thought it was a topic worth mentioning. But Anna's got a nice story about someone we might have all seen on the little screen at one point or the other that she was friends with early on in her teacher training that was severely affected by all this. And we also mentioned the events with Craig Laughlin and his having upcoming heart surgery. Just fair warning, first 20 minutes are devoted to that. You want to skip that, you're more than welcome. It's your download, it's your dime, as they say. And then we go on to speed through the four games of the week. We're not, it's the same note, but as Robbie said, they're managing to back to bag points even when they stink, and I guess that's a good sign. But again, it's our rights as fans to complain about stuff that they're doing wrong, and trust me, they did things wrong, and like the little sibling, yeah, we're going to point that out for the whole world to see. Hopefully. But all in all, that's what you can expect on this latest episode.
Yeah. So I'm just fixing some things here on the back end real quickly. I'm just testing some stuff. Let me see if I can do a screen share. But I was making sure that this work. Yeah, I think that's all set up correctly now. And so for people that don't know or might be new to it, we actually do a screen share where we show some of the goals and all the highlights through. Well, why don't you, Gil, explain how you're able to gather some of this content for people who might not have followed throughout the season?
So the NHL website, NHL.com, has come out with a new feature within their game center. It's only at the website, it's not within the app. I have to stress that, where they display a graphical version of each goal, and it's called Goal Visualizer, as you can see here. And basically, it's a replay of essentially the 20 to 30 seconds of the play that leads to the goal. And you can see each team represented by circles with the jersey numbers in the middle, the puck carrying the eventual goal. Okay, so I see a tweak that they've done. The eventual goal scorer is highlighted in kind of a double circular type of thing, as you can see with Tom Wilson in this goal. But it's kind of like a like when they do telestrator in football games, you can see the players moving and the puck moving and how the play builds. I thought it was really neat, and I showed this to Robbie, and he was like me, very excited about it. So we decided to make it part of the show.
Yeah. Um, It is very cool, and I thought it'd be kind of fun since it's like you're not supposed to show like the actual goals, unless you have broadcast rights and things like that. And often the bots don't know if you're just having fair use and commenting on it versus trying to show it and get money and profit off of it. And I will tell you all this right now, I do not monetize any of the stuff. So people who give bits and subs and all that sort of stuff, I very much appreciate because that's what pays, for it. And so I on purpose don't monetize it so that way, we can actually, showcase it and just do it for the love of the game. I do want to give a quick little shout out to Carly, though, who did sub earlier on, and then also Tina French, who gave some bits a little bit earlier as well. And I do want to welcome in everybody. We have Champ in chat, Carly. We've got Sith, as I mentioned before. And we also have a couple of friends, Moon Chef, and we was talking about how epic the donk was. We'll definitely in hour two talk heavily about the Commanders and the Ravens and the playoffs in general, and talk about this live game, which LA's now gone up 17-3. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. I do think LA is going to win this game. Yeah, so with that, I guess we'll go quickly through some of the first couple of goals. So this game was actually the game that we were covering live last week, right? It was last Monday.
Yes.
So we kind of have gone over them. So I am going to just go over them pretty quickly. Tom Wilson was able to score before we got on air, with this goal and kind of a slap shot through it. And then the next one was also by Tom Wilson. This one tied the game. And well, Gil, why don't you break this one down?
Okay, so Wilson actually starts the play on the forecheck, picks it up. Dubois picks it up, hands it off to Carlson, who in turn hands it off to Protas, who finds Carlson breaking through into the slot, and he manages to corral it and wrist it for the tie goal.
Yeah. C4, what are some of your thoughts on the first two goals?
I actually missed the first one. That game was a Monday night, so
I did too. I had to put my
but I did see this one. I did see the rest of the game, and it was quite a good game. I think, Wilson's doing Wilson things. He's getting in front of the net and he's just pounding it in, and that's what kind of he's been doing all season. And we need to keep seeing him do that. It's part of the reason he's been so good at that bumper spot on the power play too, because he's not afraid to get up there in front of the net and get in the goalie's face. So I'm liking what I'm seeing a lot from him.
Yeah, he's been playing great. I mean, already up to 18 goals here.
Yeah.
The next one was Alexei Protas. This was a beautiful goal to tie it, to tip in goal, and this is like during our coverage just happened, and yeah, just a really nice goal. But Gil, why don't you walk us through it?
Okay, so Chikrin is walking the line with the puck here, hands it over to Dubois, who does the same, waiting for some space to open up, then gets it over to Carlson at the left circle, who sees Protas in the right spot, and he just angles his stick enough to get it past the goalie for the tie game just before they go into overtime.
Right.
Yes.
And
another one of those dirty in front of the net goals that we need to keep doing. I love these goals. I love this because, they practically set the screen for us, and then we just pop it right on in. Sometimes it's just And I think they've gotten better at getting in front of the net a little more. I think in the most recent games they did seem a little gun shy for a while after that goaltender interference a few games back, but they seem to be ramping that up a little bit more now, getting back in front of the net and doing things that need to be done, getting those tip ins, getting those rebounds and second chances and stuff. So I'm really glad to see that starting to happen again.
I do too. I was happy we got a point in this game, but it's
It was
Buffalo,
Buffalo.
and I just you kind of hope for more. But I understand it. It's we just came off that emotional victory against the Rangers that we were talking about previously. It's kind of fun because we did a post game on Gil's show with me, Gil, and Anna, after the Rangers game, and then after this the game this past Saturday, which we'll get to. We did a post game for that one as well, but we did it on my channel. We also covered the end of the
Mhm.
Ravens game, and I did a scuba diving edit. So if people don't know, I have not released the audio of that. I might release that next week before I release the audio of this podcast as kind of a special. But if anyone missed it, I highlighted both of the parts, and it's on our Twitch. You can have highlights on there, which is kind of like YouTube videos. And I may even it's under my YouTube Live as well. And then the first part where we talked about the caps is actually on Facebook Live under on our show page as well.
Right.
But yeah, so it was a really, we were coming off this big high, and I think the emotional letdown was there. And Buffalo's not a bad team. Any given night, it's which team is more desperate, right? And
Mhm.
it's just it comes down to that. And I just felt like Buffalo's a little more desperate on Monday than we were,
Yeah.
and unfortunately,
Well, it's very hard I don't think we've won in their barn in quite a long time. I mean, it's been a while since almost 3 years ago, because I was on my way back from Miami the last time we won in the barn in a shootout.
interesting. Yeah, I thought we had won one there, but it's possible that it was just here, and I'm just getting confused. So,
No, it was in there. Yeah, we won there. The last time we won in Buffalo was I
oh,
think it was the end of February when I was in Miami that year, almost 3 years ago.
actually, ZD just came in and he was saying, "Hi, I'm late. Sorry. Have you guys discussed the Caps shootout issues?" No, in fact, that's actually kind of what we're talking about right now. So it's
Yeah.
perfect timing. And yeah, we haven't really figured out what we're doing with that now that Kuzi is gone and now TJ Oshie is gone and Ovi's not particularly great at that.
And Backstrom's
Um,
gone and
and Backstrom, yeah. So we're missing a lot of
well, let's see, we got McMichael.
yeah. I'd like to see him. Yeah.
I would love to see McMichael on the shootout.
Frank. I wonder.
Well, now that Ethan Frank is up, maybe him.
He's so fast. I feel like.
Yeah. I'm of two minds about Protus because he's just so big, but I mean, I think Protus, I don't know, maybe Protus. Dubois, I think will keep him on there, but yeah, we really need to get that figured out.
Yeah, it's definitely a problem. And
Well, I mean, although we've only been to the shootout twice this year, and it doesn't really matter during the playoffs because the playoffs there is no shootout. But
Thank
yeah,
God.
no, Gail and I were talking about how much we don't like the
yeah,
shootout,
yeah,
but
but
it
yeah,
is
just
it's
both
still,
teams get a point, ended in a tie. Didn't it used to be they didn't have the shootout, it just ended in a tie and both teams each got a
at
point?
one point. Yeah, I
Yeah,
wonder why did they decide that they needed to award the second point? I don't know. I don't understand that. Actually, looking back on that, I don't. I would rather just after overtime, it's just a tie. No one gets the extra point. It would make you encouraged more to score and that make it. How about make it a 3-on-3 for 10 minutes? Have 5 minutes and switch sides.
that's what
And,
I'd like to see.
Oh yeah.
and then if you don't score at the end of that, you both get one and you're done. And we're
Yep,
over. Right?
Well,
exactly.
there's this I honestly I haven't heard it myself. I've never seen it myself, but there's this mistaken the belief that the American sports fan is not satisfied with a tie, which is complete and utter baloney sauce.
Yeah.
You play 60 plus minutes of a game. Well, I mean, what are you going to expect? I mean, yeah, no, it's not the ideal result, but what are you going to do? Keep on playing till somebody drops, like they do in the NBA? I,
Right. I mean, I get it in
can't
the
do that.
playoffs that you have to play play
Yeah, playoffs
overtime.
is
Now,
fine.
20-minute overtimes and playing full 20-minute overtimes is a little extreme for me, but what that,
It made no sense. And
If you
just
do
quick,
5 minutes and it keep on going down in numbers, you start 3-on-3, and then 5 minutes of 2-on-2, and five
Right,
minutes
there we
of
go.
1-on-1, and then if it's really not decided with 1-on-1, then it's just over.
but quick
Yeah.
little history lesson about overtime. They didn't even have regular season overtime. They discontinued it a long during World War II to save time because they couldn't hold up the trains
Right.
because of wartime restrictions. They had only brought it back. They only brought back regular season overtime in the 80s.
Yeah.
So it hadn't even been around all that long. And then in the 90s, Gary Bettman decided to make it more marketable by tweaking it even further.
Well, I don't mind the
So
three
now
on
you got
three. I like the 3-on-3, but
Was it in the 80s? It was 4-on-4, right?
no in the
no,
80s it was 5-on-5. But they
I think it
in
was.
the first 2 years they had the goalies stay in their cages or switch the cages, and in the second year they got rid of that rule. They just said, okay, you stay in your end because the goalies were messing up the ice in the crease
Oh,
on
weird.
purpose. So
Huh. Wow.
a little bit of
Okay.
history there.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
interesting. ZD saying Bettman trying to gimmick the sport, got to make it exciting, and want fans to go home a winner. I guess so, but
Yeah, that's pretty much
Yeah.
the idea. I get it, but I'm fine with a tie. I don't know who isn't, but
Yeah. I mean, I understand during the playoffs you kind of have to have a winner and a loser, but
yeah. No,
for the
no one
regular
wants to change the
season, I'm
playoffs, but the
good.
regular season, there's 82 games. There could be some ties, and I honestly think
Absolutely.
it
100%.
makes the wins more legitimate. That when they do come in overtime, and that becomes more interesting of a tiebreaker, overtime
yeah,
win versus
Right.
a shootout win. Right? So anyway,
Oh yeah.
um,
agreed.
all right, Pierre-Luc Dubois on the first period made it 1-0. Gil, let's walk us through this one that's against Vancouver.
Yeah, this game otherwise was a snore fest.
Mm-hmm.
I will not make any bones about that. There were 3 goals of them, 2 of which scored by Pierre-Luc Dubois. Okay, so let's take it from the beginning of the play here. So it's Wilson starts the play by going behind the net, gets it to Dubois, who immediately gets it over to a lot of great passing here, a lot of great puck movement, and then Dubois just ends up collecting the garbage in front of the net for the McNugget minute goal.
So there was all 3 goals in this game were scored in the final minute of that frame, which I thought was interesting.
That's crazy.
So in the first period we did, in the second period, in 1923, they tied it on a power play goal, and then in overtime, by definition, it is the final moment of the game at 4:19. So close to 4:20. Pierre-Luc Dubois is 7. Alexi Protas is 18. Made it 2-1, and here's that goal. So Gil, walk us through the overtime game winner.
This easily was my favorite goal of the week. So the last minute of overtime, the dying seconds of overtime, just as Robbie said. So yeah, you can watch it here, but here's where it starts. Corrals the loose puck, does Protas, and then basically he does catch me if you can, ring around the rosy, around the net, and as he draws all 3 Vancouver defenders to him, leaving Dubois wide open. And
that was a gorgeous pass.
It's a great pass. And Dubois says, thank you, Lankinen, and slips it past him for the winner.
John Carlson's got to be the happiest guy on the ice, right? He gets credit for a plus, but did absolutely nothing. But so,
right?
Yeah, the other 2 did. One person took all 3 players, and the other person did all the rest of the work. So, great though, one big time victory. Just because we needed to get on the winning ways again. So this was on Wednesday, just a couple of days later. And C4, what are some of your thoughts on this?
Like Gil said, this game was rather boring. I mean, the fact that we only had 18 shots on goal and still managed to win is a little disconcerting in a way, because if we had more shots on
and it
goal,
would
we
get
probably would have had more
worse.
goals, right? Oh, I know. I mean, and we had 52.7% in the face-off, which for us is actually really good because we're usually not that high in the face-off. But man, yeah, that was a little disconcerting to only have 18 shots and still manage to win a game.
Yeah, it's that would be the
But I'll
surprise
take, at
of
this
the week
point,
is
I'll
that
take it. I'll take
it
any
does
points
not
I
take
can get.
volumes of shots to get points in games is kind of the theme of the week, right? So,
Hmm. Because
but
then because they had Vancouver had 31 shots on goal. Who was in Thompson? They made him. He worked hard. I mean, 31 shots. That's a lot of shots for which mean so our offense they managed to win, yes, but there's still a lot of work to do on the shooting and then the defense with, allowing 31 shots through.
yeah, and meanwhile, we're only putting up, it was 18 in this game, and then in the next game, Vancouver, in that one, the difference was we put up 17 shots, so less, and they put up 30, and I'll just give the game after that, Nashville, we
Yeah, that was even worse.
33, and then we only put up 15. So the trend's going the wrong direction in shots. So I just wanted
Yeah,
to give
but we
people
still
a
managed to
full.
win, which really is it. I mean,
We
I
won.
know, I don't understand. I guess, the ones that we're taking, we're making them count, but you can't keep playing that way. You're not going to
Right, we
keep,
won two out
you
of
know,
three of those games, and we averaged like 16 shots a game, which is
yeah,
average again
crazy.
close to 30. So like you're giving up almost double, and yeah. So basically, we're very lucky to win, and we're very accurate with our shooting. Let's go through the Montreal one real quickly because that is the loss, even if it is an overtime loss. We were able to score first in this one, and it was a power play goal. And Gil
Sorry, I
walked
have a
this one. Oh,
Ovi starts it by throwing it around, does the heart around through the half boards and behind the net. Collected by, well, it's not collected by Strome. Somehow the Montreal defender Evans loses it, throws it in the middle for some strange reason, where it's collected by Chikrin, and that's kind of his office in that area above the slot between the circles. And he fires a snapper that beats the goalie and puts caps on the board.
you're pretty
Yep,
early.
I'm wearing my Christmas present.
Yeah, I love that. So there you go. Modeling it well. I love that black jersey, which I know I guess there's so much controversy around the black jerseys. Some people either think it's the best jersey around, which most of the players do, and then the
I love
fan
it.
base is like, oh, it's so like every other team. Like, I don't care. I wear a lot of black things. Like, get over it. Like, I don't, it's like so do a lot of fans of it, and I like that it's something different. Like I have a lot of red, I have a lot of white. I don't have,
Yeah.
So
No, I like the black jersey.
yeah, and I love the Screaming Eagles. So
Hmm.
uh, mine's the Tom Wilson one, which I obviously love to death. So
Yeah.
but yeah, it's a beautiful goal, and an important one, and it sort of held up for quite some time. I'm going to quickly go through this game, just because for time purposes. They score two goals in the second. In the third, Lawrence Eller does get one back for us. And Gil, what are some of your thoughts on this one?
So Eller actually starts the play. I'm sensing a common theme. Goal scorers that start the play that they scored upon. Oh yes, this is the one. This is the one that negated. So 53 in red. See him. I'm going to let this run one more time real fast. I know we're pressed for time, but I want everybody to notice this. 53 in red. That's Ethan Frank. He beats the defender to the puck, negates the icing. That's the key to this play. Then breaks
Yes.
free, sees Eller in the circle, gets it over to him, who puts it in. That's the key. And why that's important is
Wow,
because
look at his speed. You can actually watch his catch-up speed here,
Yeah.
because
yeah,
he's behind him at the blue line and still beats him. Yeah, and so this is the same guy. If people don't know, owns the AHL record for fastest time, and possibly it also would be the NHL's fastest time if it was in the NHL All-Star game. So,
Hmm.
it's just his speed came to a huge. I'd forgotten about that, and then great
Yeah.
pass right on the tape, right to
Yeah.
Miller. So,
Yeah,
That
so
was
the third
fantastic.
line has been a problem for the Caps all season. So I don't know if he's going to be the cure-all, but he's adding an element here that they haven't had all season.
Yeah, he's certainly added something to that line. He did
As
add a
we'll
bit
see
of a spark.
later on. But yeah, he made this play.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Nick Suzuki wins it in overtime, as Nick Suzuki does.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so he's a very good player.
Dog bites, man. Yeah. Next.
Yeah, that was Protus had the puck and just a bad pass. And it
Yeah.
just yeah.
Yeah.
But it happens. We got a point. So
Yeah.
Could be worse.
Could
Let's
be
move on
worse.
to the next game because it was a back-to-back, and so we kind of had to shake it off like they did here. Tom Wilson does get a power play goal at 9:03 in the second period. Kind of a sleepy first. And Gil break this one down.
Okay, so Caps are on the power play here. Tom Wilson sneaking into the slot, banging bodies here with two defenders, then two defenders and the goalie. And he's big enough by himself to take eyes away, but obviously with two defenders on him, even better. So looks like Strome and Ovechkin playing catch along the half boards here until a gap opens just enough for Strome to put through one of his expertly timed passes enough to get Wilson to lean into one of his wristers and put it past Saros for the opening goal.
Yes.
Yep. And so that was a big time goal, power play goal. Obviously makes it 1-0. Flip Forsberg, of course, as Flip Forsberg does against us every time. We will never get over that trade that ultimately I think gets us Kuznetsov, which is I know it's a weird path, but I don't think we get Kuzi with him on our team. And so we'll see. Flip Forsberg, does he ever get a championship? That'll be the interesting question, right? So but he's a great player and scores on the power play. Of course, Jonathan Marcinshall is an old time nemesis of ours from his days because he was the guy that was on the Knights, right?
Yes.
And then Roman Yossi, who's always been very good as well on that. And then the third period, it becomes the Ethan Frank show.
Yes.
This was a beautiful goal. I wish I'd gone back and recorded it. I did not, but Gil, walk us through this one.
So Martin Faravari digs the puck out from behind, does the breakout, gets it over to Roy, who can't underestimate brilliant stretch pass here to Frank.
Yeah.
And then basically it's Frank's speed and skill that takes over. You cannot see it here on this reproduction, but basically what Frank had to do to keep himself from going offsides, he had to turn around, play it off the boards in a bounce pass to himself, then get around the defender, turn back around, and he still had enough momentum to fling it past Saros for the goal.
That was the thing of
He had
beauty.
so much speed, so much talent, and I kind of wish we had this guy called up because I think we could have seen a lot more of this. But I'm really, really hoping this is just previews of things to come from him.
Yeah.
Ditto.
I agree. He's been playing great in Hershey, and I just think he's just needed this opportunity, and I hope he's run with it. I mean, he had an assist in his first game, right, and then now got a goal in his second game, and just played great. I'll let Gil break down. Well, actually, C4, why don't you talk about Ethan Frank for a second? And I'm realizing I never shared this so I'm going to share it to a couple of real fast.
Yeah, I've seen Ethan Frank in Hershey several times, and he is just so much fun to watch. His speed, his skill, he knows where to be and when to be there. And he was like the AHL goal leader wasn't he? I think, or
he was up there. He was up there.
Close to it. Yeah, he's just so much fun to watch. I just love watching his speed and his skill and knowing just exactly where to be on the ice and when he needs to be there. And even defensively, he's pretty good. He's not afraid to get in there if he has to and when he has to. So yeah, this goal was a thing of beauty. So I'm just so excited for him. I really, like you said, Gil, I hope this is an opportunity that he can take full advantage of, and that Carberry is smart enough to say to the GM and everybody, hey, let's keep him here for a while and see what he can do, you know. So yeah, I'm so excited for him.
I'm not ready to say he's the fix for that third line they've been waiting for, but it's
No.
looking good so far.
Yeah, no, that third line he's definitely added a spark though. I mean, he's definitely added something to the line that they've needed. Like you said, it's going to take time to fully develop, but I think the seeds are there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's moving in the right direction. That's what I'm trying to say.
Definitely.
Yo, real quick, did you share to the power play? Because I'm going to if you hadn't, but if you hadn't.
Yes. There should be a link on our FB page.
Okay. It said that it had been shared once, and I was just, if that was you, then that was you.
Yeah,
So Okay,
yeah,
perfect.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right,
It's
thank
there.
you. I just shared to a couple other groups. I feel bad. I thought I had done that earlier, but I realized I had done a couple of other things. But anyway, I do appreciate people that are watching there. We're gonna get to the next goal real quickly. Gil, break this one down for us.
Okay, so Andrew Mangiapane breaks into the double-digit ranks here, and basically it's Brandon Duhaime that makes this play. Carlson gets it started, but it's an errant pass that Duhaime collects behind the net, and then he does a Dylan Stroman, waits and waits and waits till he finds a seam to get it or break the seam, get it over to Mangiapane, who somehow, amidst all that traffic, gets it in the net. Look at all those bodies at the side and in front of the net. But
that's what happens when you get in front of the net. You can find those spaces between them, and if you're right up in there with them, you're going to find the space between them to get that puck in.
And Mangiapane has enough skill to do that.
Mm-hmm. We have a lot. I mean, Wilson can do it. Mangiapane. I mean, look at that. I mean, it's just, and he elevates it just enough.
Nice backhander.
Yeah, and he elevates it just enough.
You can kind of see all the people that are around him, and a great pass from down low, between them. And he's so out of position, he's trying to chase him. But by that point, he's created a seam and an opening, and then beautiful backhand, as you were saying. But I can't say enough about this pass, which is
it
was on edge too. It just rolls right there. But still, it rolls, but then he sort of kicks it so that it lays down and it gets past that that stick, and then he gets the so I thought that slow-mo of a slow-mo helps people kind of see the game within the game, because it's just a couple of inches, right? If he doesn't kick it outside of the reach of that other guy, the other guy gets a stick on it and there's no goal there, and then he knows he's out of position, he's trying to correct himself, and by that point the backhand is up and in,
and the Caps have two checkers behind the net, so it could have been even worse.
Exactly. So
it could have been a breakaway the other direction if he hadn't.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, because everyone's so far down in the results. And then the next goal, I'm just going to show it here. A great job by Ovi here, blocking as he does, with his skates, just basically catches it with his skates, and he's off to the race with an empty net. And he's just made this textbook time and time again. His 20th goal of the season, his 20th straight season with 20 goals, which is a remarkable feat. And we're just halfway through the season, right? So there's still time to get to 42, which is the number we're trying to get to, I think, if we did our math correct.
Yes.
And it's been a lot of fun. I know that Gil did have a breakdown on one of his OV that he wanted to. Is it this one?
That's it. That's the one. So as we saw, the video does it better justice in that he blocked the shot, and we talked about this Saturday. But of course, there's a chase.
Nice. I like it. So I'll just leave that graphic up while we talk about it. But yeah, it's just an impressive thing to watch, and we've been so blessed to do it. And I'm just so incredibly impressive his ability to come back from breaking a leg and just I really thought there was going to be a major slump. Not to say there still can't be, right? But like I thought coming back he would just be a step slow. All of the momentum that he brought into that time, and he hasn't scored like 2 or 3 goals in a game. He was doing that at a crazy clip before, but still the fact that he's being able to put up goals and be a great all-around player. I don't care what the internet trolls say. He's been playing well as a captain, doing all the right things. He's getting the goals, but it's not like he's just force feeding it into the net or, some people would be like that, right? Where it's like, let me
Yeah.
just try to get this thing and, to the detriment of the team. But the team really, I thought honestly that there was just going to be a couple of lull years here with a rebuild and they just try to get on the record and they move on, but they're not. They're playing great hockey even when they're not putting up a lot of shots. I was joking with Gil that through the first 10 shots, there wasn't a whole lot of action in the goal category, but then they
Right.
really made 11 through 14 count, right? So,
Yeah, right.
and so uh, it's about timely goals and playing good defense, right? I thought that they've
Yeah.
been playing pretty good defense even when they're not scoring in these games. It's not like they're giving up huge, yes, they've had huge volume and yes, the goalies have been bailing them out, but in one of the games which they lost, a goalie had to come in cold in the middle of the game, right?
Right.
And
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
always a really tough situation. I don't think people give it enough credit, right? So,
So speaking of the goalies, do we see Thompson getting back-to-back starts now, or do you think he's going to alternate Thompson and Shepard like he did the other two?
I don't know that there's any. I don't really think there's any question, because I don't see them doing the alternate. Um, I hate to be down on Hunter Shepard, but I don't know that I have not been impressed with his work in the NHL so far. So,
No, I'm 100% with you. I'm just trying to get other people's points of view. I feel exactly the same way. Shepard makes me nervous when he's up here.
yeah, I don't think he's had 3, 4 call ups, and he has yet to adjust to the skill level and the talent level of NHL shooters. And
Yeah.
you're right. I don't trust him.
I mean,
Something
I
else.
could see maybe against Ottawa, but I wouldn't put him in against Anaheim or Pittsburgh for sure.
No, not
And definitely not the
not
West
on a
Coast
team, not
teams.
on a team with a bunch of highly skilled players. Not that's for sure. Something else I want to mention real quick. This is why you and I have a podcast, Robbie. You mentioned the fact that Ovechkin is still doing what he's doing despite a rebuild, despite injury, despite all of it. And there's this false narrative that the team is all about getting him the record. That's wrong. That's
okay.
been wrong forever, and all you have to do
Mhm.
is look at the standings to prove that. Anybody saying that in 2025 is an idiot.
Well, also just look at the goal distribution in this season, right? I mean, that
Right.
alone would
Yeah.
disprove it. The fact that Tom Wilson has 18, he's right there with him, and Strome has all these points, and it's not just off of Ovechkin goals. He's scoring in his own right, and McMichael has been up there, and if it was all about force feeding the record, you'd see Ovi having more minutes a game. You would see more shot attempts. He's not putting up like 10 shots a game, right? You know
Hmm.
it's none of those metrics actually like pan out when you actually like look at the numbers. Like Ovi is playing some of his lower numbers, I would say, of his career, and still producing, and somebody like a John Carlson is still putting up major numbers,
Yeah.
on
I
the
mean,
back line,
we have
right?
8 players that are in double-digit goals.
Yeah.
Strome is 12, Protus is 18, Wilson is 19, Ovi's got 20, McMichael's got 17, Chikrin's got 12, Mangiapane's got 10, and Dowd's got 10. And
Yeah.
then right behind them are Eller with 8, Dubois with 7. So, I mean, you're right. The goal
Dubois has
distribution
so
on the
many
team.
more. Dubois has been playing out
He
of his
should.
mind,
He
you
should
know.
have so many more. There was so many times that
John
poor man
Carlson should have
was
so
so
many more. How
snaky.
many? How many John
Yeah, Wilson
Carlson?
should have. I mean, Carlson should have at least what, three more? What do you have? Two or
Yeah,
three that have been called
yeah.
back?
So,
So yeah, Carlson should have at least five or six.
right. So exactly. So it's just it's laughable to me. I mean,
Toronto's got seven.
that's why we do this, Gil. It's why we've done this for
Right.
seasons. So we could be on record for this is actually how Obi got to these are the last 9, 10, 11 years, whatever it ends up being of Obi's career, and we could disprove it through the numbers, the history, and the consistency of his play, and nobody that's ever played with Ovechkin has ever had a bad thing to say about him, ever. I've
No,
not seen one. No former player has ever come out against him
no one.
in
Mm-mm.
20 years. I don't know if a lot of other superstars have that, you have to rub somebody the wrong way, right? And I can't necessarily say that about Sidney Crosby, it's just it's interesting to me, right? So
Yeah, he is so
people,
well respected around the league.
yeah.
He really
The only
is.
thing people have against him is that he's Russian and he supports his home country. But how could he not when he has family back there, right? Like that's just
Yeah.
you can't just be like he's a god there. What do you expect him to say? I don't know. It's why I expect him to end his career there, right?
Yeah,
Right.
and
Well,
and there's going to be haters no matter what.
Mhm.
There's going to be people who, in this day and age, just do say things like that strictly that they don't even believe just to get the attention. And that's why it's all nothing more than just noise. It's embarrassing when journalists do it. It's nothing. It's nothing to be paid. To be paid any mind if it's just fans. But if it's
Right.
really embarrassing
Probably,
that
I honestly
journalists do
probably
it.
on this show give it too much, airtime. But I do want there to be a record of the time period, both from the fans' point of view and from what's happening, because it's a real thing. It's
Yeah,
not something I see it constantly across many different groups and many different boards, both within our Caps fandom and outside of it, right? So it's just interesting for me. Real quickly, I do want to just go over the upcoming games. We're not going to break them down, but I just want to put them. So next week we'll cover on Tuesday. Tomorrow we'll play Anaheim at home. It's a 7 o'clock game. We go to Ottawa on Thursday, January 16th. That's a 7 p.m. Game on Thursday. A little mini trip to Ottawa, and then we're back here on Saturday against Pittsburgh. But I like this schedule because there's kind of like a day between each one of them. It's none of these back to back, so you can really focus in on each one. And then they'll take
Yeah.
Sunday and Monday off, and then there's going to be a West Coast road swing where we'll go to Edmonton, Seattle, Vancouver, Calgary, and then we'll play Ottawa again. A bit of sad news with Craig Laughlin, going away from the broadcasting booth for a while. This will be his last week for Caps fans to catch him for a little while he goes under surgery.
Yeah.
I thought they did a pretty good job with the coverage. They kind of tested the waters for a couple of games of how it was going to be, without him before he's coming back for this last week before he's going on an extended hiatus. And I got to give Alan May credit. I mean, he's no Craig Laughlin, but Craig's been doing this for my entire fandom. I think about that. And
Yeah.
when I wished him well on his post, I said, dude, I've been a fan of yours for over 25 years. He's the best in the business, in my opinion. And I hope that he gets better soon. And so I don't want to get too emotional. I know that they will treat him well, and I know Caps fans have a real deep connection to Locker, and it's he's meant everything to the game and the sport, and covered it on so many different named networks, right? And from is it Hometown Sports? Was it HTS, right?
home team sports
Home team sports.
was the
Yeah.
was the first
Yeah.
the old channel back in the 80s. That's
Yep. I remember
yeah.
that one.
I remember that's what I grew up like. That was the
Yep.
very first Caps game and Wizards games or Bullets games I watched. Were on that, and then obviously it's gone through many different name iterations, and now we call it Monumental Sports. But Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to. I'd be remiss to not mention that. So if you want to catch his last calls, I think he's doing all three games. He might not be doing the Ottawa one since it's a road one. I don't know, but I thought they said that they was doing all three. Maybe he's doing one last road game before he's going. Yeah, doing going to be away. But anyway, so I just wanted to point that out. Obviously. I like that all games are at 7, and I hope that people are able to check it out. On Saturday, it's going to be interesting. People will have to do the double dip. It's going to be Capitals Pittsburgh and a second round playoff game for the Commanders. Both
Who are
kind
they
of
playing? Commanders.
they're playing the Lions, the
Oof.
number one team in the NFC. But I like how we have no quit in our team, and so
No, the Commanders have been playing very well this year.
They are literally playing with house money right now. Nobody expected them to do what they've done.
They kind of kind of like the Cats this year. We're playing with house
right.
money.
I was about to say they remind me of last year's Caps.
Yeah. Exactly. So they're kind of a year ahead of schedule. So we're actually going to bring in our football team here, but definitely check out C4. I'm going to do a link over to her show that's Sakuram's Capitals Off the Chain. And it's Capitals Off the Chain
podcast on YouTube.
Yep.
Yeah. So. I think they recorded an episode. He and our Jared recorded an episode this evening. I don't know if it's up yet. I wasn't there. I had my dance fitness class, so I wasn't. I was leaving about the time they started recording. So refit.
Yeah, we can. You can catch all of C4 and Marcus and others on that show. And Gil makes appearances over there as well. And it's a great program. I know that Marcus is actually thinking about expanding to other sports as well. So as a person who does podcasts of many sports, I definitely
I'm sure he'll be.
And we'll definitely have conversations and overlap for sure in the future. And but C4, thank you so much for coming on tonight.
Always a pleasure, always an honor. I thoroughly enjoy it.
Yes. Well, we love having you on. Gil, thank you so much. I do want to say one more time, if people want to get more of Gil and my coverage, and especially our direct reaction after that Nashville game, people can go check that out. I think I am going to put the audio podcast up later this week of that. And then you can always catch it on the YouTube or on the Twitch or the Kick. And actually, we recorded that one on Facebook as well. It's fun to do a post game and have a Saturday free and do a little bit of video editing as well and show off that and celebrate the Ravens victory as well. But Gil, thank you so much. Definitely check out the Power Play Point podcast. I'll do the Gil command real quick. And then any final thoughts before I let you go, Gil?
Go Ravens, go Commanders. I was trying to tack on. I don't know if you saw it. I've made a little graphic with the Commanders logo. I was hoping we had time to post it. I hope you get a look at it. But like I said, this team reminds me a lot of last year's Caps, and I made kind of a meme of my own. I like how this team has come out of nowhere and repeatedly proves the doubters wrong. So it reminds me actually of the 1989 Baltimore Orioles, who finished dead last the year before and turned around, made it all the way through into the playoffs, into the wild card, and a little bit beyond. So I made a why not meme using the current Commanders logo.
Nice.
So
I did see that in the group chat, but unfortunately it's on a different computer. But yes,
sorry.
I do know you're fine. That's but definitely I've seen Gil posting in a couple different places on Facebook, so you can definitely check it out there. But yes, Gil, I appreciate it. It's been fun covering and talking about a couple different sports with you, and we'll definitely talk some sports next week as well.
Definitely.
All right. Oh, well, Piano, Lurking League of Legends of Love. I love it. I love when you lurk, Mr. Willow Keys. I appreciate you. Who is Will, for those who don't know. And with that, we'll bring in Sith and Champ. There he is, the Legends. Sith and Champ, are you guys watching Raw? Or are you watching this NFL playoff game, or both?
I am watching Raw. I have ad-free Netflix, so I'm watching.
Yes, nice, awesome. I actually have Netflix on this other computer as well, and so I am watching a bit of that. We've got a big entrance right now going on by Damian Priest, and it's been an entertaining second episode on Netflix so far. And yeah, it's I like this new Netflix era so far. It's been entertaining, and I like the production value. I feel like they upped it from where it was. And uh, especially like the lighting and the optics, and I even like what they're doing with their fit, like trying to get it to all match. And I don't know, I just feel like they're taking it up to a different level. It almost feels like a PLE every week on that now, which is kind of a cool thought. Ken, what are some of your thoughts on Netflix so far?
I tend to agree, and we talked about this on episode 269, nice, of the podcast this past week. It's up now on Spotify and Amazon Music. How we felt that this was, and even Bleacher Report agreed, this is one of the best. Their debut episode on Netflix, one of the best episodes of Raw we've seen in a very long time. Yes, there were only 4 matches that spread across 3 hours, but they made the most of that 3 hours with a lot of other things in between there. And you never lost they never lost your attention. And I think one of the most talked about moments from last week's debut was the Hall of Famer Hulk Hogan get booed out the freaking building, and he absolutely deserved it. The piece of trash. And I think I loved it. And if no one else is talking, if WWE don't want to mention it, trust, the fans are going to keep talking about it from here to Kingdom Come, because that piece of trash deserved it to get booed out of the building. And I thought it was just absolutely amazing. Tonight, Monday night, also mentioned this, they cannot sustain the same type of energy that they did with the show last week, because that's not a realistic thing, but they are keeping it close to that same level, I will say. With tonight's episode, we have a new Intercontinental Champion on the women's side. 2 matches have been announced, championship matches for the next Saturday night's main event. So they are really, really making Raw must-see TV. And one thing that we mentioned on the podcast that, Rob, you probably don't know, 4.9 million people worldwide watched the premiere of Netflix on Raw, 2.6 million domestically.
Wow. It's such big numbers. I mean, those are numbers that they pull in for pay-per-view stuff, or like the PLEs. So it's pretty impressive for sure. Dad just entered chat. Welcome on in. He said, "Go Commanders, amazing game. Proud to be a fan. It's like the 1990s all over again." And he said he's proud of me and my son who is down a tooth. It's true. Zach lost his very first tooth today. So we were under the pillow for the tooth fairy. Right.
It starts, as they said in the game of Lion King. It starts.
Yeah, man. The rate of the tooth fairy these days is quite extravagant. It's been impressive.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
when I was growing up, it was just $1.
I know. Yeah,
Same.
it jumped to 5 pretty quick. So yeah.
Now we basically just said we're old.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, no, Sith is old. Me and you, Robbie, we're almost there, but Sith is old. He's old. He's old.
But we're not going to set too much under the bus. But let's start the celebration. I can't.
No, it's not throwing Sith under the bus. He calls himself the old man on the podcast. Yeah. So it's not like we're throwing him under the bus. It's not like we're saying anything that ain't true.
It's true. My dad said 25 cents was the rate for me. So there you go. So,
inflation is a MFer. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. I don't think he would go over a quarter right now. But yeah, I can't believe we won this game. First of all, I had a bad feeling all day. Not like the worst.
You're the most pessimistic Commanders fan I know, Robbie.
I
know.
You
really are. Anytime in our group chat, something good can happen, you don't say shit. But something bad happen, you in there with like 5, 6 different messages. I be wanting to say, Robbie, can you at least be positive for once?
I know. Once. That's me as a fandom in a nutcases. I'm just so anxious. But that's fair. That's fair. I I get very nervous very easily. But I mean, to be fair, like Mike Evans was just we could not stop him. The only solution was to keep him off the field. And like we'd given them any more possessions, I think we lose this game. I really feel that way. I just the fact that we held them to 3 possessions in the second half was huge. It literally in my mind, it's what made the game. I mean, Jane Daniels obviously getting down the field, running a 4-minute offense to a T, all incredible. Obviously, the fumble got a little bit lucky. The going for it on fourth down 5 times, which is incredible. But I was watching a lot of talking heads on the recordings. Yeah, and a lot of them were saying, look, going for it is what won them the game because even if you only scored 2 touchdowns on 5 attempts on fourth down, that's still more points than if you'd gone for field goals each time. And they're right. I think they may have still won 21-20 if they only went for field goals every time, but that's a lot closer. And, it's not a lot of margin for error for sure. And, I don't know. It's been interesting because I was kind of the mindset to take the points, in a close game. But
that's the straightforward, easy mindset to take. Is like, yeah, take the points. But when you have a team like the Commanders, who's one of the most efficient teams on fourth down all season long, you know that this team is all about going for it on fourth, and they get it almost 90+% of the time. So we know that when it's fourth down, especially when it's fourth and short, there is no debate. They're going to go for it unless they don't have to, and they can go for the points. But if they want to be aggressive, which they have to be, especially in the playoffs when you're facing these top caliber teams, the aggression has to be up another level in order to survive and be able to take it to these teams. I'm pretty sure when it comes to the Detroit game, they're going to probably be as aggressive as they were against Tampa Bay, who they have 2 better wins against, by the way. But yet we were the road team and the lower seed.
right. Yeah, I talked about
take an example from the NBA, by the way. I'm just saying.
Yeah. In fact, Gil and I talk on our little super show that we did on Saturday about how I think the first and second pick should be protected if you're the division champ in those. But when you take a look at the Division 3 and Division 4, when those divisions can be trashed and somebody's got to win it, right? How do they get and this is an example of it in this game. This Minnesota.
Hey!
CP3's in the house. CP3, what do you think about reseeding? Do you agree that division leaders, no matter if they're in a shitty division or not, should get home advantage? Do you think Tampa Bay deserved it over us? Do you think Minnesota, which I mean they're looking really shitty in this game, but but in general, should 14-2? Should you have to go to a road team? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I don't like the reseeding. If you're a division champ, then you deserve to be the top 4. And if you didn't win a division, then you have to go on the road. That's why I feel that game last week between Detroit and Minnesota was beautifully scheduled. It, worked out for great excitement. And if Minnesota hadn't shit the bed like they're doing tonight, then they would have had the 1 seed and could have had hosted a game and, played a lower seed. But they didn't. And that's how it is. That's the same way I feel about the overtime rule. People complain that if the team scores a touchdown on the first attempt, the other team should still get a shot. No, that's college rules. We are in the pros. That's why there's a difference. So if you have a defense that can stop that offense, then that's what you do. If you can't stop the offense, like we saw with Jaden in overtime, then it is what it is. That's what the NFL is about. This isn't college. So I don't agree with that, and I don't agree with reseeding. It was done for a reason that way. The regular season counts for that, and why would you throw all of that? And then what's the point of having a regular season if you're going to just reseed based on the playoffs? That, to me, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you think this game would have been different if it was in Minnesota, or do you think that they would have just gotten their ass handed to them regardless?
I don't think so. I think Detroit exposed Darno last week, He's had a great season, and I speak with Ivan Carter, who's a diehard Minnesota fan who's been riding for Sam Darnold to get a contract extension all throughout the season. And I've been telling him he's having a good regular season, but when the pressure comes, literally and figuratively in the season, what's going to happen? We saw what happened last week when the pressure got there, literally and figuratively, and we're seeing tonight. Rams came out with the same mentality. We're going to blitz him, make him uncomfortable. He's not very mobile, and he's not accurate on the run. So he's doing everything that they thought he was going to do, and we're seeing all the results of what we were going to see at Minnesota or at LA/Arizona on the road, because once you get exposed and they get it on tape, it's copy and paste league. So he played himself into a contract before these last two games. Right now, the way it's looking, he's going to be, I think, J.J. McCarty or whatever his name is safe with his job, and he might just better stay in Minnesota as a backup. If I believe he still has a year on his contract, they were talking about franchise tag. No, he was unrestricted, so I believe they're talking franchise tag. But yeah, I think he's played himself back into a backup role after these last two games, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's just wild that they could win 14 games in the regular season and look like world beaters at time, and there was real talk that if they had won that game over the Lions, they would be the 1 seed, right? Man, I wish they had done that and we got to play them. That would have been,
Playing from ahead is a lot different than playing coming from behind. And especially when you have a quarterback that can be shaken with pressure. And that's normally what happens when a team gets behind. They just try to send pressure, but their offense becomes one-dimensional. And then that plays into Minnesota's defensive strengths. And that's what's I feel carried them through the season. The offense was a complement to the defense as opposed the defense a complement to the offense. The defense dictated the pace once the offense got a lead. They have the best wide receiver in the league in Jefferson. And, we saw last week he missed a couple of those throws of him being open. He overthrew them, and their timing is off, and he's just not comfortable. So, yeah, unfortunately, we're going to see the the Vikings with a 14-2 record end up having a first round exit, unfortunately.
yeah, it's interesting. They're going for their second 2-point attempt of the season right now with 5:05 left here after a touchdown is scored. He catches it, but it is short of the goal line there. So now it says 27-9. We'll see if that touchdown makes any difference here, if the defense can step up.
I am very happy that Hockenstein scored that touchdown because I just did an in-live bet parlay with him scoring a touchdown. Now, if Williams scores one more touchdown and Puka gets a touchdown, my $2 bet will just turn into $250. So I'm rooting
This
for
motherfucker
Puka.
right here, man. I swear to God.
Hey,
This
man, it's
motherfucker
about
just keeps trying to put these parlays, man.
Bruh, the live parlays have been saving me from my pregame joints. The live ones, I like those a lot better, and I've been winning with those because you can get a vibe for the game and how it's going. And then if you jump on the right time when they allow you to bet, you can get a bang for your buck. So I've been making my money back. So I haven't threw the big money out there yet. I'm still doing my little $2-3 bets to get 40, 50, maybe $100. It's all about rate of return on your investment, my brother. I'm a financial professional now. I have to look at it in all ways available, brother. Come on, I have to diversify my portfolio.
Motherfucker here, man, trying to
It's
use
a
big
word to
words
describe
into
our team.
my brother and all this other shit. If you don't shut the fuck up.
Man, I've been in here studying, watching this football game, watching WWE on Netflix. My head is going everywhere, brother. I saw y'all was online. I said, after the seasons we've had, not having any football to talk about at this point of the season for so long.
I'm so happy you get to be a part of the playoff coverage.
Yeah, as I said, I gotta come on. Especially, I haven't had a chance to break down this season, talk about the greatness of Jaden Daniels and Cliff, his maturation as a play caller. Even though he had me, if I had hair, I probably would have been pulling it out at a couple of points of this season. Joe Witt, the defensive coordinator, I love that guy. If you don't check out his press conferences, subscribe to the YouTube channel. You guys complained about Ron being vague and not taking accountability and not being responsible for, the team play. If you want accountability, follow Joe Witt when he does his press conference, because if he screwed up in the play call, he says he did. If he doesn't have the players prepared, he takes responsibility for it. So I'm loving the fact that we have a quality coaching staff. We have a front office that's determined to do things the right way. We have an ownership group that is allowing the front office to do what they need to do. The fact that they're all focused and pulling a rope in the same direction. And then the icing on top of the motherfucking cake, we have a franchise quarterback in Washington, D.C. After that win last night, I am in utopia right now. Anything else that happens with this team, if they shock the world and beat Detroit, if they don't beat Detroit, I know that we're in a good place as an organization and as a franchise. And to the younger fans, I've been talking to a lot of these millennials that's only seen this team with dysfunction and despair and losing records. And they don't know how to feel right now because they've never seen this team play this well and not have any off the field distractions, not have any craziness going on. And I had to whisper to them, this is what it used to be like when I came up. When Joe Gibbs was here, we actually had a great team on a regular basis that was actually in the conversation about playoffs and making it to the Super Bowl, not just, once in a while, but on a regular basis. So buckle up. We got the second most money under the cap. We have players that actually want to come here now in free agency. We have 7 draft picks, and we have a franchise quarterback.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
It was asked of our friend Dugenet last night on his post game show, and I wanted to get Carol's take on this. Do you think we get Cliff for 2 more years because he's under contract with both Arizona, because they're still paying him for it, plus he's under our contract, or do you think he sniffs the market? I know there's some ties to the Bears, just because. But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, he's actually interviewing with the Bears, and another team has showed interest that he's actually going to interview in his press conference. He addressed it, and as you are correct, he is still getting paid as a head coach under Arizona, getting paid as an OC here. And if he decides to leave, he can go make more money if he chooses to. From his press conference at the end of the season when he was asked about it, he said that he is open to coaching again, but not nothing immediate. He, still has some growing to do as a play caller and in that role. So I'm going to take him at his word. He hasn't given me any reason not to. And the money aspect that he's already, making a boatload of money just by being on the sideline and making money here. I don't see him going anywhere, but anything is possible. But I think he wants to see how the connection with him and Jaden, how far it can go. And if it could get us to a Super Bowl run, not saying this year, but in the near future, it may be in those 2 years left on his contract. That might be his parameter. Like if we can make it to the bowl in 2 years when my contract is up, then the iron is hot. I'll go try to be a head coach. Or he might just say, I want to ride this out to see how long this can go. This could be maybe an Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes situation with Cliff and Jaden. So I've been watching a lot of the analysts today review the tape of the game and their breakdown. And the general consensus is Washington has a quarterback that's going to have them in the playoffs for the next 10 years. So with that being said, I'm hoping Cliff decides to stay because you want to see that chemistry grow. You want to see Jayden develop under one offense, and he already feels like he knows it like the back of his hand. But just imagine how much more advanced he would be the more deeper they get into the playbook and more used to it he gets. And then just imagine if they get him a primetime wide receiver, or they draft a wide receiver like a Puka Nacua or somebody, in the lower rounds that turns into a superstar and complements Terry, and then we'll be unstoppable. And then they're going to put money into the defense because that's been the so-called weakness of the team, even though they've been balling out and playing well. It was amazing how I was seeing people complaining about the defense last night. I'm like, well, they held them to 3 points for the whole first half, except for that final drive before the half. And, they pretty much kept Bucky Irvin in check, who's been going off like crazy, who would be and running for Rookie of the Year if Jaden Daniels wasn't around. And all we heard about was Tampa's defense only giving up 9 points in the second half of the last five games. I think they gave up 10 points in the fourth quarter against us there, buddy, but we shut them down. So it's not about rankings. It's not about big names. It's about the team playing well together as a unit, the different units playing well as a unit within itself and lifting each other up. We've seen, early in the season, broken plays, miscommunications, and, explosive plays tearing up the defense and tearing up the yardage. And now that we have a quality squad, the secondary is we're fifth in pass defense and middle of the pack and rush defense. But all you hear about is people complaining about this and that. But go back to the Eagles game. Barkley had 100 and something yards and 2 touchdowns in the first quarter. Every quarter after that, he had a total of 42 yards. So, yeah, the numbers, he had 160 yards for the game. But the fact that the defense stepped up, cut it out, and kept them in check and was able to help enable the offense to get started and to come back and to win that game the way they did. That's what a team sport is about. It isn't about, well, they're not doing their job, yada, yada, yada. And then when you slacking, you're going to be like, well, if they was more consistent, you be consistent. So I'm loving everything, man. I'm loving everything that's going on right now.
One point to make, Carol, real quick, Robbie. One point I wanted to make that you mentioned, Carol, is that the defense buckling down. In the fourth quarter alone, Tampa Bay only had 2 possessions, and both possessions combined only produced 3 points and 1 turnover. That should be a testament to what Joe Witt has brought to this team in terms of a defensive mindset that, you gave us some big plays early on, you gave us some points early on, but when it's crunch time and it's time to buckle down and to keep them out of the end zone, they did it not once, but twice, and one of those times produced a turnover, which turned into points.
Yeah, but if you want to get technical, the pass interference that wasn't called on the end zone on the Zach Ertz incompletion to play before that, if they would have called that, there would have been no need for the fumble. But that's why I always say the football gods are going to balance things out, because when you have the head of officiating on the broadcast say, yeah, that should have been a pass interference call, and then 2 plays later, they fumble on a play that they've ran over 100 times this season and never fumbled on it once. But this instance, the timing was off. That's all I can say.
2 things real quick, and then I want to get Seth's take as well. It's funny because I was rewatching like a Bears broadcast where they have live things, so you can go back and watch their live reactions to this. And one of these Bears commentators that live watches the game thought it was so disrespectful that right after that turnover, we ran almost that exact same play that they fumbled on back at them. It wasn't, it was a counter. And he was like, that's so disrespectful to run the play that we just screwed up. I hadn't even thought about that until I saw the counter. I don't think that they did that on purpose, though, but
Hey, that's what happened when you try to get too fancy. Something they would have just handed the ball off to Bucky Irvin, and then from there, you just stopped on the fourth. You just got to stop on the 4th down in the end zone. Got away with a penalty, and then you want to get fancy. You should have just tried to get the first downs. A couple of them punt the ball, flip field position, and make them drive again. But that was the issue. Tampa really couldn't stop them. We punted 0 times. Granted, we went 3 for 5 on 4th downs, but they were all manageable downs. Coach said it beautifully in his press conference. We wanted to be aggressive, but not reckless. That's why when he started going for 4th downs in the first quarter, I said, I like this, because you have to let them know, just like Philly does with that tush push. Like if you get us in 3rd and short, you think you're getting off, y'all defenders, put your hands up like 4th down. Oh nah, it ain't over. We got something for that. And that breaks the defense's will bit by bit. The more you do that, because they think they did something and got you on 4th and 2, 4th and 1. Oh yeah, we did our job. Now hold fast. No, you didn't, because we got somebody named Jane Daniels that makes it 11 on 11 and changes everything.
I know he was drawing two spies some plays where they had to have two people come down and watch him, one on each side, which completely screws up and throws you into zone or throws into single coverage and just opens up a lot of different opportunities. But I do want to get Sith in here. What were some of your takeaways from this game?
One, and it's something that I have said throughout the time here during the season. This team is resilient. They do not quit. A lot of you younger fans that are listening, y'all are not used to our teams acting like this. I get that. I totally do. But this team is reminding me a lot in basketball terms of the 85-86 Pistons, where you started to get a vibe. You started to get players into the team. You had the coach. You had everything put into place. And the Pistons became a bit of a big deal. They started knocking on the door of Boston, okay? They lost to Boston 2 years ago, and they finally beat Boston. Well, what's happened here is we went from 4-13 from last season, went 12-5. We came in, I believe, slight favorites last night to beat Tampa Bay. And this team just showed again why we've got who I believe is going to be the offensive rookie MVP in Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels, along with ownership, along with management, along with coaching, the entire culture is changing in DC. The entire culture. Who can sit here and tell me that the culture was this good under Dan Snyder?
Oh, it was never this good. And I gotta,
Preach, brother.
since you threw me that layup, that alley oop, I gotta do this just to piss off some of the Ron Rivera haters. I gotta do my daily dose. I haven't been on in a while. And for all the fans that's been talking trash about Ron Rivera through this whole run, because you can't look forward and gotta look backwards, I'm gonna throw some salt in the wound. Any other credit that Dan Quinn gets for turning this team around, you have to give Ron Rivera some credit too. Because without him getting some of those cancers out of the organization before Quinn got there, Adam Peters and Quinn would not have had this smoother transition and things wouldn't have worked out as smoothly. So you might not have been happy with the record. You might not have been happy with him standing on the sidelines with his arms folded like he didn't know what was going on, the way y'all all laugh and joke. But he is responsible. He has a piece to do with where we are right now, no matter how much you hate on him, how much you post on social media about him. You got to give him credit. And I tell you, honestly, folks in the NFL do give him credit, just to tell y'all how much y'all don't know as fans on social media. And that's all I have to say about that. Back to
By
the
the way, by the way, Seth, you mentioned about the betting line. Washington was a 3.5-point favorite going into this game. 3.5-point favorite on the road, by the way. Normally the road team gets 3 points off the break, but they were 3.5-point favorites where the Commanders going on the road against this team. That should tell you something about how good this team has been all season, that they were a road
Oh,
favorite
Lord.
over a division champion.
Somebody then turned Sam Darnold into JD real quick. He took off for like a 25-yard scramble up the middle to save his life. But there was a flag and the offensive lineman is down. So damn. Let's see
guys,
what's
get
going
this. When I look at last night's game, the resiliency was there. Everything was there that we've been used to seeing practically all season. And it's like what I said in several groups before the game. This is a different Commanders team than was happening on week one. Okay. People are like, oh, we don't belong here. No, we do.
Dude, being at the stadium this season, being at every game, and the last games at the stadium coming down to the last second. That when they tied the score at 2020 and it was 4:41 left in the fourth quarter, I was cool. I said 4:41 with two timeouts and JD at the quarterback.
Yep.
And the score tied. Oh man, we got this. I ain't even worried about it. And I haven't Let me think.
Yep.
I was gonna
I
say
don't
I was
believe
cool
I've
until the
ever.
field goal attempt, but then I was nervous.
Yeah, I've never felt that way about this team. I guess I could say, except for that 1991 Super Bowl season, when you just the run they were on, going 14-2, you just knew it was destined for something great to happen that season. But this 6-game run of he has 6 wins in the fourth quarter overtime with 10 seconds or less in a game.
Yeah.
This is a rookie. This is I'm speechless because
This is
we
Joe
haven't
Montana.
seen anything like this. It's crazy.
This is epic Joe Montana type play back when he was, a big deal in San Francisco. 2 minutes left on the clock. You knew that him and Rice were going to go out there and somehow find a way to win the game. It's called 2 minute magic. Well, here we've got JD5. You link him up with the offense, whether it's Scary Terry or Gertz or whoever else, or if he has to use his own legs. JD5 is going to get out there with the time that's up on the clock. He's going to pound the ball down and give the team a chance to either get the field goal that's needed to win or get the touchdown that's needed to win. And if some and it wouldn't surprise me if JD5 gets MVP votes. He may not win it, but I think he'll get votes for MVP this year now.
Oh, he's definitely going to get some votes. There were folks when they won that 7-2 run at the beginning of the season. It was some folks that said that he was not going to win it, but he's definitely going to get some votes. And after this run that he's been on, and all the records that he's breaking, and like you mentioned, he's just, like you say, resilient. He wills the team to win, and he's cool, calm, and collected. He's never looks like he's rattled. He's never looked like he's, struggling. He's just a laid back California kid that's 22 years old and is only going to get better. And I was watching Teddy Bruschi earlier. He's like, in his 13 years of playing and 16 years of analyzing football, he's never seen a rookie quarterback like this. Now that's saying a lot for somebody that was going up against Peyton Manning on a regular basis and been analyzing football on ESPN and other football outlets. And he has it all. He is what I envisioned RG3 developing into over time.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that he's doing all of those things at a supremely high level in his rookie season, yeah, like I say, I'm in utopia right now, bro. I'm a season ticket holder, and I can say for going forward, I'm gonna continue being one as long as he's my quarterback.
I would say your luck has been pretty good in your opening year. So,
Well, that's kind of the reason why we got him, because he was like new ownership, new quarterback, new everything. Why not be a part of the first year? We had no idea it was going to be playoff run, even though I did say 11-6 on my preseason. I'm always the optimistic one, but the fact that we put up 12 wins in the regular season, went 4-0 in December, and solidified a playoff spot the week before the end of the season, and still fought and won that game with a backup quarterback in Dallas just to shut them up, because they shouldn't have won the first game that I was at because of missed field goal, mixed point after. But yeah, we're good. I'm in a happy place with this team going forward, and I'm glad to have been there to experience the JD experience in the rookie campaign. So
I'm happy I got to go to one game with you. I just feel bad that it was like one of your two losses. I was like,
and the sad thing is, the 2 times I took somebody. Hold up, dude. No, we won that game. I was about to say the 2 times I took somebody, we lost, but we came back the second game I took somebody too. So yeah, we came back against Philly. So yeah, that was a rough one. All the Philly fans in there.
Who'd you take to that game? I don't even know I knew that.
Oh yeah, my lady didn't want to go because of the potential for the rain. So I actually took my first agent that I just recruited in my business practice. I took him as a celebratory thing because he had just triggered his contract, and it became my first official recruit in my financial practice.
I have a
Hey,
question
good
for
luck.
all of y'all before I go.
Yeah.
We are 8-point underdogs going into Detroit.
Or drop
Do
the
you
8.
think we beat the spread, win or lose?
Oh, we definitely going to beat the spread. It dropped to 8. It was 9 around 3 o'clock when I was watching some of the football shows. So it dropped to 8. I think we're definitely going to beat the spread. So that will be one of my FanDuel bets on next Sunday.
My man.
Except for the game is on
It's
Saturday.
Saturday.
Oh,
Yeah, I was going to say the game's on Saturday.
See, the thing this morning when I was watching ESPN, I was watching Get Up, and
Yeah, no, he was wrong. He had the wrong time.
and I had to leave, so I thought that's because we were looking to
No,
go to Detroit on
it's the night game.
Man, I see he done messed it up.
ESPN got fucked up, and their morning show had the wrong time. I'm like, that's.
I was looking to get tickets that we were going to go to Detroit if it was on Saturday, and when he switched up and said Sunday, we stopped looking. Son of a bitch, fucking Greeny.
I'm happy we had this conversation. Maybe you can still change your mind.
We had looked, man, but now it's already been a whole day, so the cheap joint, the cheaper joints might be gone. So
yeah, there was never cheap joints from what I was seeing initially. So
oh really? Yeah. Well, I'll check and see. I got some folks out. I got some folks out Detroit, so I see what's up. I'll check and see. Damn it, Greeny.
Damn, I wish you had talked to me at any point.
It was on. Yeah, I know, and I know you don't, and I know you don't
mean
ESPN.
shit anymore.
I know, but that's the thing. I know the only reason I was watching because I wanted to hear what they had to say about Jaden. And when he ended the segment, he was like, "Yeah, it's Sunday at 3," and I was like, "Hold up, what?" They said it's Saturday at 8, and that's when I told my lady like they changed the game. I guess they reshuffled it, and I didn't look on the app enough to check out because I've been busy working. And now, son of a bitch, that damn Greeny, I'm sending him a tweet.
All right, I'm going to take my leave of y'all by saying this. Detroit's not going to win by 8. They're going to win by less. I would say 4 or 5 points if they win. But when I look at the Commanders team, when I look at Detroit, any given Sunday, any given night, a team can rise. No one is giving us a chance in hell of winning this game.
Not at all.
If we come out and shock the world and somehow beat Detroit in Ford Field, the DMV is going to erupt and rejoice big time.
Bruh. I'm jumping out there, Sif. I'm calling an upset. I'm calling an upset.
I swear to God, if we beat Detroit, I'm gonna be on this podcast in just a jersey, underneath me, butt ass naked.
Bruh,
I'm dead ass.
Bruh, I'm calling an upset. Remember when I talked about the Steelers a couple of years ago and the Eagles when we upset them, and I called? They have a similar situation going on. They have a blitz happy defense that's hurt, and they have issues with a mobile quarterback. So if they bring the same mentality they did with Darno, with blitz happy trying to confuse and rush Jaden, that's a recipe for disaster. If you play zone, that's a recipe for disaster. Yep. The X factor is the Commanders having ball control like they did against Tampa with a 17-play, 9-minute drive, keeping their offense on the sideline. If Detroit takes the kickoff and don't score, and we score, get a turnover, get a 3-and-out, and we put 2 scores on the board, they're going to change their whole offense. Ben Johnson is going to start pressing. Once you start pressing, you never know what might happen. So it's all dictated on how that game unfolds. But Detroit is not the same team they were with all the injuries they have on defense. So I'm jumping out there, and they're on turf with Jaden.
I'm going to jump on the bandwagon and say we're winning. I'm going to go with my gut. My gut told me this morning that it's W. It's going to be close, but it's going to be a W. I think that we're going to stay in the thick of things, and then final drive, JB5.
I want to say that we're a history of beating them in the playoffs, right? Isn't that
we dog slapped them in the 91 playoffs. But I just, like I say, that the feeling what this team is doing, and Detroit, they're a quality team, but I think Terry said it best in his interview last night. They've been in these tight, close games for a majority of the season. Detroit been blowing the doors off of folks. and haven't had those tight, close game situations. And now, with the pressure being the 1 seed at home with Super Bowl aspirations, with a hot wild card team with the intangible as JD5, the pressure is on them. The pressure isn't on the Commanders. The pressure is on Detroit to make it to the next round because I don't know if you guys heard what Dan Campbell whispered to Sean McVay, said he'll see him in the next round. Not if the Commanders got something to do about it, baby. So,
Absolutely.
like I'm saying, like I said, I know I'm not right all the time, but when I've called these upsets on the primetime stage, I've been more right than wrong. So I'm getting that same feeling, and I am putting my money where my mouth is, and those bets will be made on FanDuel.
My man.
That's awesome. I almost want to like time code this just so that way we can come back to it if it happens. So, yeah. All right. Well, Sith, I will let you go. I know that we've kept you a little bit longer. We also have Tim in the wings. We're going to talk a little bit more playoffs in general. Carol, you're welcome. Did you watch the Ravens Steelers game?
I had it on, but I wasn't really focused in. I actually got to get back to doing some editing. I'm waiting for some footage to download now. I'm gonna throw some more content on my YouTube channel and try to throw some more content on Facebook. I appreciate all the views that I got on the video I put out earlier. I think I'm around 4,000 views now, so I appreciate it. Starting to get me teary of the old days when they actually let your guys watch my content without suppressing it. I miss those days, Robbie.
Yeah, indeed, indeed. Um, well, awesome. Well, I'm super happy that we had both of you guys on. Definitely check out the basement with Sith. Sith, what do you got in the basement this week?
This coming Sunday, I took the top 50 highest grossing films of the 90s worldwide, ranked them worst to best. Now, the caveat is there are some bad films, but once you get into the really good films, ooh, you'll hear me be like, oh my God, I remember seeing this in theaters and stuff like that. It's really going to be awesome. 5 p.m. Sunday night.
Yes, sir.
And I will double check on things, but I might be back next Monday night too.
That would be awesome. Yeah, I look forward to getting your assessment after this playoff game for sure. In CP3, I want to get your final thoughts and also shout out whatever you want to shout out you're working on.
Final thoughts. Like I said, this team is in a great place. They're moving forward. They're playing like a unit. They're playing like a team. They're playing like brothers. They're saying all the right things. They're doing all the right things, and their play on the field is matching what they're saying, which hasn't been the case here for a long time. So, I haven't seen many crazy fan posts lately since we're in the playoffs. So I appreciate that I don't have to, troll some of y'all emotional fans. But just enjoy the ride. Know this is just the beginning. The brighter days are ahead, even though we're in a great place right now. Um, on any other things, just stay tuned. I got some things in the works on the financial side. I'll be finally from under my first year contract, so I'll be able to start streaming content with my financial stuff going on once I get all the rules and parameters. Because the one thing I learned being in financial institute, there's a lot of damn regulation, and I'm not always the guy to follow the rules. Just say I already got a couple of reprimands in my file, and it wasn't even my fault. That's the thing that's crazy. But stay tuned. I'm definitely on a new path. I'm not abandoning the show. I still love my Sports on the Hill guys, but I'm taking my of a decade of experience on here and taking it to a different level, to a different place, and trying to do some different things. So be on the lookout. I got some major things in the works. I've been in communication with some of the ex commanders, some of the trying to get to some of the current commanders. So be on the lookout. Might have some things popping off, and I get some things with some of the local sports analysts that be on your regular post game shows. Might be able to parlay some things and get them on our show or get some things working. So just be on the lookout. Appreciate all the support you guys have been giving the show for all of this time. Appreciate you tuning in. I know I haven't been around this last year or so, 2 years almost. But yeah, I'm working on some things. Robbie's doing a great job. I love the fact that all of the guys that are, contributing every week and still take the time to do it. So just keep rocking with us. Appreciate it. And you never know where things might go because we got a lot of things working in the background. So on that note, y'all have a great rest of the show. I'm gonna get out of here. You never know when I might pop back up again.
DP3, you know when you troll those emotional Commanders fans, you gotta play Carl Thomas emotionally. You know that, right?
You know I got that meme on standby. That joint right in my holster soon and my quick files. So as soon as they start crying, I even got the music to go with it, bro. You know I'm ready for them. But they've been kind of quiet because you know they don't really have anything to complain about. They're kind of in utopia too, except for during the games. You know they still emotional, tweeting out dumb stuff. But after we win, they pretty much cool. So I try to leave them alone because you know they're happy for the most part for now. We know if we don't win it all and shut out them 56-0, they're gonna have something to complain about.
Including your biggest fan.
Hey, I've been working on it. They're in therapy now. They're actually, you know, consulting some other football experts and getting their knowledge in a better place. I've told them to go subscribe to USA Football and take those classes to get a better understanding from the coaching aspect and from the player aspect, but they still resisting, but I'm keep working on them, man. I'm trying to help our sports community one person at a time.
Carol,
That girl's dumb. I'm just gonna move on. That girl's dumb.
yeah, but I mean, Carol, you do great work behind the scenes. I'm just so happy for our team in this moment and to be able to celebrate a victory after this was the last team that we needed. Now every team we've covered has won at least a playoff game, and except for maybe DC United. I don't know. I think they've even won
Yeah,
one.
I think they won. I think they won at least one playoff game since we uncovered them, I
Yeah.
believe.
But you know, Mystics winning the championship, us getting at least out of the first round, you know, and you know, a lot of teams that we've gotten to cover over the last 9 years, and so it's always great to have you pop in. And you know that you always got a spot here whenever you get the moment. And if we win next week, I expect you to pop in again to talk your
Oh,
shit.
most definitely, most definitely. I got a busy Monday, but yeah, like I said, it might be a little late, might be around this time, but
Right.
I definitely got to jump on and ride the wave, the playoffs. You know how
We're
we do.
covering the NCAA final next week, so it'll be a long show. So you'll have plenty of time to get in on the back end of that as well. So it should be an exciting tournament, and I think I'm rooting for Ohio State, which is interesting. But
Yeah, whether it's Ohio State, Notre Dame, or something like that, I
yeah,
think.
so
Okay, I
exactly.
don't watch. I just saw somebody talking about it, but I know Terry. He mentioned Ohio State
Yeah,
was in the
exactly. I watched that same interview on with Scott
yeah.
Van Pelt, and so if Terry can get the double win where he wins his next game and they get the win, I'm all for it. I'm all about Scary Terry having the year of his life. So
That might be my parlay for Sunday. Thanks, Robbie. I might
yeah,
have to put
All
that on ticket.
right. Get this guy out of here with this parlay crap. Get him out of here. No, I'm just kidding, man. I love you. I love you, Carol.
All right,
Keep doing
bro.
your thing, brother.
Hit me up, man. I'll be in hours watching the games. You want to come through, man? You know I'll be in here. I might have the Fairfax councilman over here again.
That's
nice.
that.
Yeah,
Awesome.
he got elected, Ken. We about to start working together, brother.
Oh, shucks. All right, bet.
All right, man. Y'all be good. I told you, man. I'm an educated Negro now that I'm living in Northern Virginia, Ken. I'm no longer.
I
I'm
got
no.
you.
I'm no longer that PG County guy.
I know. The glow up is real, my brother. The glow up
Hey,
is real.
brother. I told you I'm trying to make change happen. I'm trying to show you before I got to show you, but better than I can tell you.
Right. There you go. I love it. I love your whole new life. And I love being able to do the show still with you. And I hope that you have a great rest of your night.
All right, y'all too. Enjoy the rest of the show, and I'll talk to y'all later.
Awesome. With that, we're gonna switch gears a little bit and
Tim got a huge smile on his face, brother. Look at him.
yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah, that interview was hilarious. So
It was great, but I'm just so happy that the Ravens beat the Steelers. I know that it was kind of a foregone conclusion. They're a much better team than the Steelers.
oh, you never know in the playoffs.
Yeah, and it's a
Yeah, it didn't
rivalry
feel
game.
foregone. Yeah, it's
Yeah, it's always a little bit nerve-wracking, but I kind of like that in my mind, they did such a good job in the first half giving themselves a cushion, and then they just, whittled them down in the second half, if you will. It's um uh it was a great formula and it worked out pretty well. They kind of choked them out in some ways, take a wrestling term, like
yeah.
and they let him get like a touchdown here and there, but you know what I mean? Like it wasn't like in my mind in the second half, I never really started to worry that they were going to get back into it. Like I thought that the touchdown, the end of the first half that the Ravens scored really kind of gave them momentum and kind of snuffed it
Oh
out.
yeah, backbreaker.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think especially the way the play went down, where Lamar avoids a couple sacks and throws a touchdown, and if it goes wrong, they get 0 points, and then it's only 14-0, and then I think Pittsburgh goes in with some momentum,
Yeah.
and you never know. But yeah, that play was huge, and probably his best play of the night too. Great,
Yeah.
great scramble.
Man, it looked super cold in Baltimore.
Yeah.
Shout out to the Ravens fans for still showing up in the death cold and just making it a hostile place because I know how well Pittsburgh fans travel, right? Because I got to
Yeah, yeah, they were
unfortunately
there.
witness it.
Yeah.
But I didn't feel like that it was overrun. And I have to say the Commanders game this year was much better than it has been in previous years because Commander fans wanted to be there for those moments. But Pittsburgh fans
Yeah.
show up, and it's important for the Ravens fans to counterbalance that, and they did. You really felt like I don't know the Steelers fans. I didn't see a lot of the towel waving and a lot of the hooping and hollering. They're able
No,
to kind of minimize that.
yeah, I think there was probably less Steelers fans than most regular season games in Baltimore just because they kind of knew their season was going down the drain, that late losing streak. They didn't have a lot of confidence, and they
Yeah.
were big underdogs, and it was an expensive cold night game. I know because Mike Edgley went to the game with a friend. He told me the environment was great, and Ray Lewis was there. But the funny thing, he always comes out and does his dance and like gets the crowd amped. The funny thing was he didn't do it in the beginning of the game like always. He strategically like chose to do it in the middle of the third quarter
Oh wow.
because that was when the Steelers cut it to 14 and had the ball back. So he was like,
Kind of
I'm
like
gonna use it when we need it,
it's like the
like a
power play.
power.
Yeah, it's kind of like the
Yeah.
power play or when they have to do like Unleash the Fury for the Capitals. Like,
Yeah, it's like you only get it once a game, and he's not going to go to every game. But I'm glad that they didn't just do it in the beginning, like always, as the pregame, before the players. So that was kind of funny. But yeah, I mean, the crowd definitely helped him. I think Buffalo obviously is going to be a much stiffer test, but I like the way that they're playing, and the state of Maryland has 25% of the
yeah.
playoff teams left, which is cool because I can't remember
No,
another
I
year.
looked it up and they've never been
Yeah,
to playoffs in the same year, period. Like not
yeah,
even in it, no less win it in the same year.
yeah, because I feel like the years past where Washington made it, it was like a down year for the Ravens.
Yeah, it
It was,
always
it
has been.
was
I couldn't believe
yeah,
I
and
like
vice
looked at
versa.
both of them and like I was like, wow, it's like yeah,
Yeah, they kind of switched
all these
off before,
years the
but
Ravens, and so that's why I'm so euphoric, and we have to celebrate tonight because I don't even know if that
yeah,
ever
who knows
happened
how long
again.
it
Yeah,
lasts?
yeah,
Hopefully,
Tim, two
yeah,
things. Two things. One of the things that I mentioned to you about the same was get the run game going, get Derrick Henry on going early. Man's had over 150 yards before the fourth quarter.
yeah, he was
That's
great.
important.
And it wasn't just him. I think Lamar was great, especially running in the first half, because the one thing defenses used to do to the Ravens successfully was would kind of attack from the sides and come at the run game. And a lot of times you could tell Lamar wouldn't know what to do when like two fast guys were coming from both sides, and they're kind of past that now because he can run the read option well enough, where he'll just give it to Henry or keep it, and he makes the right read most of the time. So I think that's the main change, and Pittsburgh didn't really adjust to that. Like there were so many plays where Watt or somebody was hitting the wrong guy that because the fake was so good. Um, and Washington has that type of run game too with Daniels, so It's tough. I mean, if you run the read option right, it's really difficult to defend. So,
Yeah,
um,
but yes and no. But I honestly don't feel like Henry's such a powerhouse in down back. I think that they really need to play Rodriguez, and bring him back into the fold. He was, yeah, not active, I believe, in this first game. I don't know. I just feel like we don't have a downhill runner in the same way. Like B-Rob wasn't doing it, and yeah.
yeah, I see what you're saying.
And so I think that because for what your point was is were attacking from the sides to get to Lamar, but
Yeah,
then
yeah,
too many times they get up the gut, with some powerhouse guy. You can't do that anymore. Like somebody has to stay back in the box, so to speak, right? So I kind of wish we had more of that. I like the part that really bothered me when I didn't say this in the Commanders part was we were at first down on the 1 yard line, and we couldn't just punch it in. Like I,
yeah.
I found I was frustrated that we just need better play calling down low. I know that we ultimately got the touchdown, and it's a little bit masked by that, but like that's not always going to work against like a Lions team. Like we need to be able
Yeah,
to
you got to
score.
punch it in.
And I don't know, Ken. What are some of your thoughts on that?
I mean, B Rob, he was always supposed to be that downhill north south runner, and I think that Eckler is supposed to be that change of pace back because he's a little bit older. So I don't think he's a north south runner like he was when he was younger and whatnot. But I do agree that I think that if you do have Chris Rodriguez in there, sort of the other change of pace, I think that you can really keep a lot of defenses off guard within your running game. So I think that there is some merit to that. But I think that if B Rob can get back to being that north south runner that he has been, that he was when he was in Alabama, what he was when he first came into the league, I think that they could definitely use that complement of Austin Eckler or Chris Rodriguez, honestly. But there was a second point I wanted to make to Tim about the Ravens. What did you think about Lamar Jackson's reaction? They were chanting MVP while they were on offense. He was telling everybody to shut the fuck up.
I thought it was funny, and then he made the Cars reference about Derrick Henry after the game because I guess he watches kids' movies now. But I think in general, it just shows Lamar isn't even really interested in another MVP. He just wants to win the Super Bowl and have a better playoff record than he has, which is nice. I think when you win one and you haven't had a Super Bowl, it doesn't mean as much. The way that I know the post game guys portrayed that was basically like the Ravens were just trying to run kind of a really standard like eat the clock drive, and he didn't want anybody to ruin the communication because they had to call like different run
Yeah,
blocks and stuff.
I,
So
I kind of felt the same
yeah,
way, but that was more of that than
then
anything.
like shut the f up because
Yeah,
I don't
exactly. But
I
it
want to
came
hear
off that
that.
way, which is kind of funny. But
Yeah,
I do agree. Like, I don't know. I have a question, Ken. Are you the kicking game for the Commanders? Do you feel okay? I mean, we donked it in, and he made it, and he made a 52-yarder. I mean, I think it's too short of a week. You can't try anybody else, right? You just got to go with it.
No, you got to go with Gonzalez, man. I mean, he's been there the last several games. He made that clutch kick to get us into the divisional round. So I mean, you can't just go and try to get somebody off the street in less than 6 days for a matchup on the road in what's going to be very hostile territory, which is Detroit and Ford Field. You got to go with Zane Gonzalez and believe in Zane Gonzalez because of the situation that it is. But here's the thing. If the offense can go out and execute like I know they can, and the defense can go out and do what they got to do to stop Jared Goff, I think that Zane Gonzalez won't be put into that situation where the pressure's on him to make a field goal to win the game or anything like that. I think it'll be much more of a situation where, again, he won't have that pressure. He'll just go out there. The team will just go out there and just execute. That's basically the long and the short of it.
Yeah. I Tim, did you watch the game last night, right? The Commanders game. Did you
Yeah,
see the two quarterback set, which I thought was really interesting? Running.
yeah, yeah.
I
I
kind
like
of
how
think you could.
Mariota's getting used
I
more.
kind of think they could run him more like a fullback or have him pitch out. And honestly, I think Daniels on the outside is a scary situation. Like, there's things you could run out of that I was got my brain thinking. Like, I know that they don't need to do that, but play off of that, especially now that there's some film on it. Like, you could then use that against the Lions that don't know what's going to happen. And I'm not saying run a ton of plays off of it, but like, you could in certain circumstances
It,
do some interesting things with that.
yeah, I mean, I think the key is you have to eventually use wrinkles. Like you have to eventually throw to Daniels or run like a crazy reverse. They can't always
No, that's
run it
fine.
with
I would
Mariota,
love that though.
but yeah.
Mariota can make that play though.
Yeah, exactly. But you know what I mean? A lot of NFL teams, they run those special packages like the
Yeah,
Steelers did with Fields. And it's like if the backup quarterback runs straight forward 90% of the time, which a lot of teams do, it does become kind of predictable.
right.
But yeah, like you said, I mean, you've got two great throwers on the field because it's not like,
And both can
Mariota's a quick.
run. Like,
Yeah.
Mariota can't, like, I wouldn't say he's like a distance runner, but he could get you 3 or 4 yards. Like, and
Yeah, and he's pretty big too.
yeah, in fact, I actually kind of trust
Pause.
with his with that you can trust with his size that you can, it's I feel more confident, for a more straight downhill run than JD5 is more great so you can get outside of the pocket and get a scamper outside, but like I don't want him taking hits, in the center of, the line too much, right? And so the different types of runners in some ways, and you could potentially play off of some of that. And I mean, you could run a wildcat, and we don't even talk about that where you don't know which one's going to throw it. So it'd just be interesting to see if they next week we see more of that because we didn't see any of it all season, and then they pulled it out for this, and I thought one of them it was just to test the waters, and one of them they actually used and it worked, so it'd be interesting to see where it goes from here. Do you have any thoughts on that, Champ?
I actually like that play call because the first time they used it was on a quarter on a sneak to get the first down, and then they brought it back out again to try to get them to draw them off sides to get 5 yards and a free first down, which ended up not working out for them. But I agree. I think that you could do so much out of that out of that sort of concept when you have a Mariota in there and you have JD5 who's as athletic and as quick as he is. You can run like an end around. You can run like Wildcat. You can have JD5 run a route or something like that. Only thing is, if you have JD5 run a route, don't have him run through the middle because he ain't big enough to be coming across the middle.
I wouldn't
The
want him
last
to
thing
have
I
middle.
need for him is to come across the middle with some linebacker sends into the shallow realm.
No, I definitely would say he's out on the side, right? But which is what
He's
they
on
were.
the edges. He's on the.
I think I froze.
He's definitely would be outside the numbers with JD5 if they run him on a route on a receiver route. He has to be outside the numbers. If he runs across the middle and a linebacker sends him into the shallow realm, Cliff Kingsbury and Dan Quinn will get quartered at the stake by all the Commanders fans in the DMV.
Yeah, for sure. Sorry, my computer glitched for a second. Is everything sound okay right now?
Yeah, no, I think I heard Ken cut out for a sec too, but
Okay.
he's back though. It was only
Yeah.
for
Okay.
like 2 seconds.
Sounds good. Yeah. I think the whole system tripped. Anyway, but it's fine. Yeah, I don't know. I'm nervous about both of these games, but I was nervous about all playoff games, and especially because Commanders games seem to come down to the wire, which they've been very successful at. Which I really honestly just didn't know. Like, sure, he's done incredible things all season, and I should have expected that to happen in this too. But I also know that the playoffs are just a different animal sometimes, and I've seen rookies not perform that way in the past that looked really good through it. There's only been 4 in in history that have won on the road as a rookie, and the last one happened in 2012. And so it's rare. And so I'm just really impressed that he was able to do that. But these next two things, I was really hoping Buffalo would somehow find a way to lose to the Broncos, so
Oh
that way you
yeah,
guys could have gotten another home game. But
a much easier home game too.
yeah, exactly. And it sucks that didn't work out that way, obviously. And Buffalo does look really good, and they have a ton of playoff experience. But this is an opportunity for you guys to avenge a loss from a couple of years ago in the playoffs to them, right? And I think that,
Yeah, 3 years ago in a game, Lamar got hurt and Huntley had to finish and didn't go well. It was close though till the very end. So they played them tough, and Ravens blew out the Bills in week 4, which doesn't mean a lot, but I do think it helps that one of their weaknesses is running quarterbacks. So kind of like Carol was saying with the Lions, I mean, both of our teams are probably underdogs, but have the running quarterback is not good for the opponent. So hopefully that works out. But I just think playing in Buffalo is going to be big for them. Again, though, they have a lot of playoff experience and they have a lot of wins, mostly in the first round, but they haven't been able to make it to the Super Bowl, same as the Ravens. So both teams are kind of looking to finally break through. And of course, the winner probably has to play Kansas City, which is the team that is just haunts both of our both the Bills and the Ravens. So it's not doesn't get any easier even if they win, but um Ravens should be confident. I think more pressures on the Bills too as the home team, so that'll be
yeah.
nice.
God, I'm gonna be such a big Texans fan on Saturday. I just like
Oh
I
yeah. I
I
just don't see
really,
it happening,
no, I
but
don't see it happening either. But someone's got to throw in the Chiefs, and
yeah. I would love that because then the Ravens could potentially get the AFC Championship game at home.
yeah,
So
like,
that would
yeah,
just be great for many reasons, and I think a lot of fans are sick of the Chiefs, so
yeah, yeah. We were much anyway. So we'll see. The Bills one's going to be tough right now. The line is so close. They actually have Baltimore by one, and the most current.
yeah. I think it opened Buffalo 1, so it's basically a pick 'em.
Right. I do wanted to just say real quickly, champ, the Bucks were favored by 3 in that game. Um,
Oh yeah, yeah, I
Oh,
saw
they
that.
were.
yeah,
Yeah.
I went back and I double checked it. But yeah, it's because I remember saying at the time that it was like basically a pick 'em because almost always the home team is favored by 3, which is why I'm surprised
Yeah. Yeah, you
Baltimore is
give them
favored
3.
in Buffalo. And right now the Lions are favored by 9. Kansas City is favored by 8. And they have not made a decision yet on the Eagles game.
I
But
think the Eagles will be big favorites probably over the Rams.
yeah, I think so too.
Sam Darnold is getting his butt kicked in this game. Jesus
I know.
Christ.
I was just thinking about this because literally one of the last things that Robbie and I were talking about last week was the Vikings really shit the bed this week.
They shit the bed
And
2 Monday Night Footballs in a row.
I know, like it does suck for them because they had such a good season. And it's like, that's so Minnesota sports for you.
It's so funny though.
Like,
I barely watch any Minnesota games all season, and the 2 games I
same.
watched, they shit the bed.
They're not on here that much, so
Yeah, but it's just like oof.
I know,
Uh,
like, yeah, it's just like I don't understand how they won 14 games, but
yeah, somehow they did.
yeah.
So
My friend who's a Green Bay Packers fan who can't stand the Vikings is probably has a big shit and grin on her face right now, watching them get their butts kicked by LA.
yeah,
This is
Yeah.
insane.
that was
This is
They
the
didn't do
same
great
team that
yesterday
won
themselves,
14
I was gonna say that's an
games.
interesting game we
Yeah.
didn't talk about, but that game was such a snooze fest, and
Oh
also
yeah,
like,
yeah. I literally snoozed during.
I literally passed out
Yeah.
during it, so it was not good.
I was
Uh,
kind of getting excited because I was like, maybe the Eagles will lose and that'll be
the
great.
first
Yep,
play was
not.
bullshit though. It wasn't a fumble.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
It was bullshit. I was like, I don't know about this game. Like,
Yeah, that was a bad omen.
Yeah, it definitely was. And I definitely don't think that's why they lost for any reason, but like at the same time, that just sets momentum the wrong way to like start the game.
Yeah, their
You know?
offense was terrible until a little bit in
Yeah.
the second half, but they were
And
did
then
nothing in the first half.
Then Texas made Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers look like absolute ass.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Poor Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert got beat the crap in that game. Holy crap. That man
yeah,
had what, 4 interceptions?
yeah.
Yeah.
He wasn't great. One wasn't his fault, but he was not good. And
Yeah.
yeah, it was just kind of funny because the Chargers have all the ex-Ravens like Dobbins and Gus Edwards, and you could like see their old like the running backs that were not nearly as good as Henry lose for a different playoff team. So
It's crazy that every home team kind of crushed, except for in the game that like ours was definitely the most exciting game, which I actually think,
yeah, a lot of blowouts too.
yeah.
Wow.
So for the Commanders, like that's huge for them if they've played in a more tightly contested team against LA, which I know like they needed the rest to get some of their guys healthy, but at the same time, like the rust is a real thing in the playoffs, and could definitely be a factor. And
Yeah, I mean
it'll be
that's a long buy. It doesn't help a lot of teams. Um, and yeah, I
yeah,
mean like I kind of feel like the Lions may overlook this game a little bit just because last year they got to the NFC Championship. They almost made the Super Bowl. A lot of people think they're favorites to get to the Super Bowl this year. So I don't think they're necessarily going to focus on the divisional game that much.
yeah. But they could just blow us out of the water
I
too. They've
guess
been
Yeah,
Carol's
that
point,
too.
Robbie.
That too.
Hey, Robbie, I guess Carol's point about reseeding comes to fruition here because Minnesota, a 14-win team, just got their asses kicked by a 10-win team.
yeah.
Not
That's
even on the road, by the way. Let's not forget that it's in Phoenix where there might be more Vikings fans.
yeah. They did say
Because
they would sell them to LA fans first. They got first dibs on it.
it,
But I mean, that's not to say that it's
yeah,
not.
like how many people though with no house are like, fine, I'm gonna go on a road trip to I hope maybe some people, but that's like a lot of people are probably not trying to travel right now.
Unless they're just fans of the Rams from like back in the day from St. Louis.
Yeah.
Over
Yeah,
to
maybe some St. Louis fans will fly out there.
so who knows? But yeah, so it's gonna be interesting. So it's all set now for the divisional round. I know that we gotta get Tim out of here, but so the Eagles will play this LA team 3 p.m. on Sunday on NBC. All the action starts on Saturday at 4:30. Texans at Chiefs against Kansas City is an 8-point favorite in that one. 15-2 Chiefs versus 10-7 Texans. And then the next game on Saturday is the Commanders game. Commanders at Lions. Detroit's favored by 9. It's an 8 p.m. game on Fox. And then on Sunday, the early game is the one I was just talking about with the Eagles on NBC. And then the Ravens and the Bills are the 6:30 game on CBS. But I love that it's not like super late though. Like 6:30 is better than a Sunday night at 8 o'clock game. So
Oh
it'll be
yeah, yeah. I just been killed by night games this year. But that, like you said, that's quite a bit better.
Yeah. So, and it's already dark at that point, but still, it doesn't really matter. Like, at least it's over at a relatively decent
My
time.
my main thing is even if the game's over by 11:30, you're just kind of amped, especially if
Oh
they
yeah.
win. It's like it's not like you're going to sleep like
I
game's
stayed up till like
over, like
1:30 last night after lunch
yeah.
because, like, how do you not? You're watching every like
I didn't go
replay
to
and
sleep until 6 o'clock this morning.
Oh wow.
I
Well,
yeah,
that's just
yeah.
crazy.
yeah.
That's how amped I was. I didn't go to sleep till 6 o'clock this morning.
I very well could have. I was watching highlights and passed out in my bed. I had my phone like next to me. Like right now, Liz and Zara are passed out with all the lights on in my room, so I'm gonna have to deal with that after this. So that'll be interesting.
Nice.
But
Well, I'll be right behind him probably.
exactly, exactly. Well, Tim, I really appreciate all your coverage of the Ravens this whole season. Hopefully, we can have you back on next week with a big victory. And But any final thoughts before we let you go?
Just good luck to both of our teams. This is one of the better shows for sure. Just everyone's really happy. I makes up for all those weeks where like all our teams were like 0-6. And it was like all 3 Wizards losses, like 2 Caps losses, like everybody. So this is kind of the opposite of that, which I love. So hopefully next week is just as positive.
Oh, the Wizards are still losing. They're still ass.
Oh,
Oh
they
yeah,
lost today too.
I
But
know, and it's funny because it was a 3-point game. I literally clicked the go live button, and there was like a 14-point swing, where they just became total
last
trash.
game they lost by 41, so
Yeah, so,
that's an improvement.
yeah, it is an improvement, but still, like to be within 3 points going into the fourth quarter at home, I was hoping to be able to talk about them a little bit, and I didn't. So
Well,
anyway,
well,
so
when we get Cooper Flag, that's when we'll talk about him a lot.
exactly. So we'll see how that works. But Tim, you're awesome, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, thanks guys. Have a good one. See ya.
All right.
Peace, Tim.
Sounds good.
Peace.
All right, let's talk a little bit of wrestling real fast, and then we'll head out of here. But really great episode of Raw tonight. And I thought that that street match was actually pretty entertaining there at the end, and some just good things, and I just like the production value. And it'll be interesting to see where it goes from. I didn't realize it was a 2.5 hour episode. Like it ended 30 minutes faster than I thought. So I was all thrown off by that.
Yeah, I mean, they did mention, Triple H did mention in an interview prior to the debut last week that with being on Netflix, it provides them a lot of flexibility, meaning that they can go 2 hours, they can go 2.5 hours, they can go 3 hours, however long they feel they can go to make a quality episode of Monday Night Raw. They're going to do it. And I guess that's what they did here is that they went 2.5 hours and were able to achieve not only crowning a new Intercontinental Champion on the women's side. Congratulations to Laura Valkyria. Also set up 2 new matches for Saturday night's main event, which is next Saturday, which is Braun Breaker versus Sheamus for the Intercontinental Championship. Sheamus once again trying to win the championship he has yet to win in WWE. And Walter, aka Gunther, defending the World Heavyweight Championship against main event Jey Uso, which should be a really good matchup. They had a really good promo segment tonight. It was a really good promo segment actually, and so they did really good. And only having a 2.5 hour show was really good. So they're already showing early that hell they don't have to go the full 3 hours to have an effective episode of Raw. They can go 30 minutes. They can end 30 minutes early and still have an effective episode of Raw. And I think that that's going to be the thing going forward is that we're going to be expecting 3 hours and we're not going to get 3 hours. So now our expectations moving forward is going to be however long it's going to be, as long as it's a quality episode. I think that's going to be the thought process moving forward.
I love that. I think that's actually really good for the sport in some ways because I was also wondering, I was like, what are they still going to do? This episode feels like it's at its climax, but there's still 30 minutes left. And then it ended. I was like, what? I was like, but I think that it caught me off
No,
guard.
trust me, I was sitting in shock too. I was like, okay, Damian Priest won the match. Okay, what's next? And they was like, wait, there's credits. It's over? What? Like, I was shocked too, but I was like, okay, you know what? This is still a good episode, even though it ended 30 minutes early. I'm not mad at that.
It left you wanting more, which is when you're doing a sport or entertainment, that's what you want, right? Like it's not like you don't want to be like, oh man, this is dragging on for an additional 30 minutes. Like you want to be entertained. And like if you were and it leaves on a high note, then you're like, man, I can't wait for next Monday, right? So yeah, so I'm happy with the production. I'm more all in on Netflix than I think I have ever been on Raw. So we'll see if that continues. Also makes it easy because I can have it on another screen easier. Like it's what I mean. Like I think there's a lot of advantages to being on Netflix for a lot of reasons.
There's a lot of advantages to being on Netflix, and I think we saw it on this episode, the second episode on Netflix, is the flexibility to be able to do a show and not be constrained when it comes to time. I think that's going to be one of the bigger advantages of being on Netflix is no time constraints. Yeah, there's still going to be ads, but the great thing about it is that you at least know how long. I mean, how the amount of ads you're going to get, which is like around 2 to 3 minutes of ads, which is somewhat of a normal thing on network or broadcast TV. Is like you get about 2 to 3 minutes of ads and things like that because they got to pay the bills and everything like that. So you get about 2 to 3 minutes. But the great thing is, and at least on my end, because I had it on my TV on my Xfinity box, is that they had a countdown in the top right hand portion, top right hand corner of the screen to let me know, okay, this is the ads and this is how long it's going to go. And then once the ads were done, right back to the action. So I think that's going to be another really good thing for people to at least know and be able to look up at the corner and know how long the ads are going to be before they're back to action, so they know how long they have to like go get a drink, go to the restroom, go get a snack, things like that. I think that's another benefit that we're getting from them being on Netflix.
I agree. I like that too. It helped me like time out certain things, and I knew I could be focused on something else and then come back and pay attention to it, see what it's doing. And I think the big thing for me is Triple H is stressed about is I feel like transparency. Like they're not hiding the words, using things like heel and terminology like that in some of the opening segments. And I love that they are kind of peeling the curtain back a little bit and saying like we're the best at this. We've done it for so many years. We don't have to hide behind things anymore. We can just be raw, to take a term from it, and just show you what it is. And people love that stuff.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's the main thing that I think we all are getting from this. And I think that's why this move to Netflix was, even though a lot of people questioned it when it was first announced, but as they got closer, it started to become a thing like, okay, maybe this is something good. And now we're seeing some of the benefits early. But as I said on episode 269 of the podcast, I'm hoping that people don't have these expectations of these PLE caliber events happening on a weekly basis, because then if they don't put on PLE quality episodes every week, if they have one episode where it's not PLE quality, then people are going to be on message boards saying Raw's trash, get it off Netflix, put it back on USA. Because just like emotional Commanders fans that like CP3 likes to troll, wrestling fans, the internet wrestling community can be extremely fickle and bipolar.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, I can see them turning on this so far. I actually haven't been on many of the forums. Have people liked the first two episodes of Raw so much? Are people for it so far in the general consensus?
The general consensus is that the debut episode of Raw was one of the best episodes of Raw ever that they've had in a very long time. I don't know what the consensus is for this episode of Raw. I have to wait to see because it just ended not too long ago, well, about an hour ago, and so it hasn't even had time to breathe.
Marinade. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so it's hard to say
It'll be an
how
interesting
how people feel
conversation.
about it.
We'll come back to that conversation next week. How about that? And we can get a better
Absolutely.
sense and doing that. And so if people want more wrestling content, obviously Champ has his own channel, and it's the True No Spots Pod. And let people know what you're doing over there this week.
Yeah, so this coming week we're going to be recording on Saturday because TNA has their first pay-per-view of the new year, Genesis, which is on Sunday. And so we're going to be recording on Saturday. We're going to do a preview of Genesis, which is going to be main evented by the former Dolph Ziggler, known as by his real name, Nick Nemeth, defending the TNA World Heavyweight Championship against Joe Hendry. We're hoping that finally TNA and their brain trust make the finally give Joe Hendry the ball to run with and be the face of TNA. We don't know, but they have a lot of other matches on the card, including Ace Austin challenging Moose for the X Division Championship, Masha Slamovich versus Rosemary in a Clockwork Orange House of Fun rules match for the TNA Knockouts World Championship. It's essentially like a fancy name for a no holds bar match. And some other matches that are on the card. We'll preview all of that this Saturday, as well as look at the weekend, including this episode of Raw, plus everything that happens this week in wrestling, including the fallout from New Year's Evil on NXT this coming Tuesday. Obafemi and Julia winning their respective divisions top championships last week. So we're going to get fallout from that. Dynamite as well. TNA's go home edition of Impact before Genesis. So we got a lot to cover this Saturday, 6 p.m. Eastern on our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/True No Spots Pod. If you cannot make the live stream, that is okay. The audio goes up the very next day at 10 a.m. on Spotify and Amazon Music.
You are so much more on top of putting your podcast up. Mine, if you want to wait for the audio podcast, you got to wait a week. But people know that they can catch the live stream and the replay here on Twitch or on YouTube or on Facebook or even on Kick, although no one seems to care about Kick. But that's fine. I really appreciate all the people for tuning in, especially across Facebook and on Twitch. And so many great people have been in chat all night. I feel bad because so many people are adding so much commentary into the chat, but we had so many people on tonight. But I really appreciate all of the comments, especially by Smarticus and by Moonchef82 and lots of other friends, Tina French, my dad, and stuff like that. I really appreciate the lively chat and the banter. What a fun week, champ. It's just these moments don't come around very often. And in fact, this is the first time in 9 years that we've gotten to celebrate a playoff victory on this show, and it's a special moment. And I think of this as right up there with when the Caps won the cup and when when the Nats won their championship and stuff like that. It's just these kind of moments, because I know that those were 7-game series and long months and stuff like that, but in football it's one and done, right? Like you lose one time, it's over. Right. And it's just such a fleeting moment. So each win, in my mind, means so much more. It's like 20 wins in the NBA. It's like some of these teams never get a playoff victory for years and years and years. Right. So, we haven't had one in 20 years. It's been such a long time. It's been the entire time since I've left college. And, I'm just so happy for people like Carol that got to be season ticket holders, this year. And, I miss those days. And I'm just so happy for the fan base and, for the team, and just, yes, watching Scary Terry's interview and how happy he was, with Scott Van Pelt, and just an incredible moment, and it just maybe a turning moment for our franchise, something that we can build on for years to come. People watch what happened last night and now think of Washington as a destination to come to, which we haven't had that in 20 years, right? And so people just came to us for a paycheck and just didn't want to show up and show out, and now we've got a guy that people could rally behind, who's really all about the team and not about who he is. And but it's just so great to see all the greats supporting him. RG3 could easily just feel bad, like this should have been me, this should have been my position, why wasn't I given this opportunity? And he's not. He's celebrating JD5 every step of the way. And I love that, the captains that they chose, the brain trust that they put into place, everyone's, doing their role. They know it's going to be tough, and they played with chaos, which I loved. They were just confusing to watch, and you just didn't know what was going to happen next. And that frenetic energy paid off in dividends, and they played so many close games that they just had no nervousness. He just looked at his time and said, look, they're not getting the ball back, and they didn't. And I just, I was watching a couple of things, and there's all this talk about why not us, right? And why not us? I know that people in chat, Smarticus and others, were like, oh, you guys are crazy. I love the enthusiasm, but it's not happening, when CP3 was going off. And I, in my heart of hearts, know that the Lions are a better team, but that because they're a better team on paper doesn't mean that they're better at this one day, right? It just takes one day where things don't go right for them. They have a couple of turnovers, and we don't give up the ball like we did in this. We control the time of possession like we did in this game. And anything is possible.
The old saying, Robbie, the old saying is any given Sunday. Any given Sunday.
hopefully it'll be on a Saturday, and
Absolutely.
and we can shock the world in prime time. It just I'm excited for the opportunity because it's all gravy. We lose this game, it's what everyone expected. There's no one out there being like, oh, ha ha ha. Like, it sucks to make the playoffs and do all that work and just be bounced immediately. Like, Tampa Bay fans are gutted, and that could have easily happened, and that still would have been a huge victory for us because no one expected us to even make the playoffs this year. But to have all of that legitimized in my mind by one win, because it means it wasn't a flash in the pan. It means that this is who they are, and they were ready, and they it's just an amazing thing. So I just wanted to put all of that on tape just because it was such an important moment for this franchise and a moment that Ken, you and I haven't gotten to share, and I'm so happy that CP3 was able to show up and be a part of tonight's podcast because he's meant so much to this show and helped me start this 9 years ago. And what an incredible moment. And I hope that there's some way that we can find a way to replicate it. And all the pressure has got to be on the Lions right now. They have so much expectation on them. And so the key in my mind is just keep it close. If it's close in the third quarter, going into the fourth quarter, we've got a chance. We've played in so many tight games. You just got to not make mistakes over the first three quarters that makes it so that you can't come back or be within a score or two. So I think that's the key is just, try to keep up with them over the first three quarters and give yourself a chance in the fourth. Ken, any final thoughts?
I just agree with everything that you said, especially when it comes to the approach when it comes to Detroit defensively. And I think someone mentioned it in the Twitch chat much earlier on that, Goff is not good against pressure. So I think Joe Witten and company definitely have to dial up some pressure, definitely get Luvu and Wagner in there, John Allen and all of them, get in Goff's face, make him make mistakes. One thing I will say that Washington definitely has to keep an eye on is the halfback angle route or the halfback seam route that Montgomery tends to run, especially in goal line, because he tends to run that and that gets open almost 95 to 97% of the time, and he ends up scoring a touchdown because linebackers they tend to not, you know, they tend not to account for him, and he ends up getting free and getting into the end zone. So they definitely have to account for Montgomery in the pass game in the red zone because he is very dangerous in the red zone in the pass game. You also have to be mindful of Amon St. Brown, Lattimore, who didn't do as good against Mike Evans as we all thought he would. He's got to do a better job against Amon St. Brown, St. Jude's, Chin, San Rastil, Igbanane, all of them. That secondary has definitely got to be on their toes with that passing game, and they definitely have to be on their toes with that run game with Montgomery in the run game as well as in the pass game. As you said, they got to keep it close. If they keep it close going into the fourth quarter, then Detroit's in trouble because that's when the Commanders seem to come alive and turn on a gear that not a lot of teams have. And then all of a sudden, you see the ice water that's in the veins of JD5, and next thing you know, this team is already home, and they're going to be sitting on the couch, and we could end up going to either Philadelphia or Los Angeles, or if they're not in Los Angeles, back in Arizona to face the Rams or whoever, whoever. But it starts with executing a well put together game plan against the number one seed in the NFC, which is the Detroit Lions.
Yeah. I just want to give a shout out to ESPN because they have made some mistakes today, but they had a really nice interview with Matthew Stafford just now, and he was supporting, obviously LA Fire Department, and I love Scott Van Pelt, so shout out to them for having that interview, and people can go check that out later if they want to. But I'm a big fan of SVP, so yeah,
Maryland Terp.
Yeah, exactly. And got Ryan Clark doing a breakdown in a minute, who's a former Redskin. And Yeah, it's been so fun. It's so great to see the culture, to see Magic in the building, celebrating with the team, and I don't know, it's amazing what happens when we got rid of ownership and then got a real GM and then a coach, and to go to the part that where Carol was speaking when I was off screen for a little bit. There is some credit that needs to happen that this, ownership, they bought it, not this season, but after last season, right? So they had to use that time to analyze everything on the fly in 1 year of how they needed to correct it. And so, yeah, you're going to have that down year to sort of as they're trying to take away and remove the cancerous parts of the organization, if you will, right? And that's going to be a tough year, and a lot of that is put on the coach's, head. And Ron Rivera took that in stride, and they never fired him, throughout the whole season. And he helped us, rebuild a culture there, and that culture then bled into this, new culture. And so there's a lot to be said for what Carroll did. I don't want to gloss over that moment, So this has not been something of just this season, but even in a terrible season last year, you could see the seeds growing. And that's what I think has kind of set us up for success, maybe a season earlier than people had expected.
Exactly. And I think that's what's giving us such great vibes is the fact that we went 4-12, 4-13 last season. We only had 4 wins last season and had a complete overhaul of almost everything. And everybody had this mindset of it's a rebuild. But I was watching on social media, they had a video package that included the introductory press conference for Dan Quinn as the head coach of the team. And he said, I don't call this a rebuild. I call this a reboot. And that's what this was. This was a reboot of this team. And it showed that the fact that they turned around from a 4-win team to a 12-win team and a playoff team in one season. Whereas a lot of fans had the expectation of, even though our preseason picks didn't show it, a lot of us had our expectations very tempered to the fact of maybe we win 8 games, maybe we are competitive, but we don't make the playoffs, and then we're maybe a couple of seasons away from being a playoff team. No, we literally the very next season after a 4-win season are in the playoffs, are now playing the number 1 seed in the conference for a chance to make the conference championship. Think about that. The last time this team was in a conference championship, I was 9 years old.
Yep.
I'm about to be 43 this year. I was 9 years old the last time this team made a conference championship. They went on to win the Super Bowl that year. This is a team of destiny, because this is the most wins they had since that very season, actually, by the way. So that's something to think about. This is the most wins they had since that season, the last time they won a Super Bowl. So this is a team of destiny, ladies and gentlemen. Even if we don't beat Detroit, this has been a successful season coming off of 4 wins. This is a successful season, and I think we're set up for success in the future. I think next season it's playoffs again, maybe even a division title.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I'm kind of happy we didn't win the division, because if anyone's seen our schedule already, it's very hard, and it would only get harder if it was the division, champion schedule. And
Right.
so that would be interesting. One thing I just was numbers go through my head all the time, but you were, so I was probably about 6 years old when, we won, the Super Bowl, and that's the age that Zach is now, which is wild to me. So that would be an incredible thing, if
Yeah, my
life.
son is 2 years older than I was the last time they won a Super Bowl. I'm telling you right now, if by the grace of God, I'm putting it out there in the universe right now, if by the grace of God, this team beats Detroit and then wins the NFC and ends up in the Super Bowl, I'm finding a Super Bowl party and I'm taking my son there and I'm going to have him witness this team win a Super Bowl so that he can say, I was there when this team won a Super Bowl, just
So
like
what
I was when they beat Buffalo.
Right. My dream scenario is obviously that we'd be playing the Ravens, so that would one way or the other.
Oh, dude, if we end up playing the Ravens in the Super Bowl, me and Tim beefing. If we end up in the Super Bowl with the Ravens, every time I see Tim, it's gonna be fuck Tim and the Ravens as a staff, a record label, and as a crew. That's how I'm going. That's how I'm carrying it. Cause that's what I told my friend who's an Eagles fan. Cause she's an Eagles fan and they play the Rams next. I said, yo, if it ends up being Philly and Washington in the NFC Championship game, it's fuck you and the Eagles as a staff, record label, and as a crew. Even though I love you, we beefing that week because I want my team to be in the Super Bowl. I don't care.
Yeah. That would be amazing if we played the Eagles in the championship game,
That would be crazy. That would be so crazy. And then that means it's the rubber match for the season. Because remember, they beat us in their house. Then they came to our house. We beat them in that last second craziness. So imagine we end up having to play them again in their house with this momentum that we're on.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So we have to, it's still a long ways to go. The Lions are a very good team. I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but it's important that I kind of like that it's a short week in some ways, and that like it's not super short, but like they get right back to it. They don't have too much time to rest on their laurels. They just gotta they're on the road. They keep going, keep working through it, and I hope rest is a factor. I really do for the Lions, and so we shall see if that helps or hurts them. Because if we jump on them, like it could be a different game. So.
Absolutely.
All right, with that, I think we're gonna end the stream. It's been a super fun show. And I'll mention, I'll put it out there. Tina was saying that we need shirts that say donk on them. And so I will make donk and in merch, or some donk related merch in an art stream if we're able to win this next Rams game, because that donk will mean that we have gotten through 2 rounds, right? Because it would catapult us. So if we lose, I'm not making the merch. If we win, I will make donk merch. I will put that out there. So, I think that we are going to raid somewhere. So I'm just taking a quick look at who is on here. I don't know. Which way do I want to go? I have so many different types of things. I've got music, I've got games, ASMR, art. Give me a category of one of those things.
Go games.
Games? All right. I know where we're gonna go. We're gonna go to
Games.
a Fortnite streamer.
I actually have Fortnite on my Xbox, and I tried to play it a couple times, and I just can't do it.
Yeah.
I can't do it. Though I've been back grinding Madden 25 Superstar mode again because I started a new one with a quarterback.
Yeah.
Time I chose to be drafted by the Commanders instead of another team, and so I'm on the Commanders, and I'm in my 4th year. My first 3 years, we've made the playoffs all 3 years. I was rookie of the year, offensive rookie of the year. We made the Super Bowl, lost by 2 to Buffalo. Then we lost to the Cowboys in the divisional round, and then last season we lost to the Bengals in overtime by a field goal. So now I'm my purpose now is I want to make the Super Bowl and win it. But this season, listen to my receivers that I have: Scary Terry, Jahan Dotson, Kadarius Toney, and Tyreek Hill.
Wow.
Those are my wideouts.
That's crazy.
Okay, those are my wideouts. Though right now, Brian Robinson's injured, so I got a couple of young running backs that I have in the backfield, but I got those guys as my wideouts, man. I'm out here killing it. It's crazy.
I'm gonna catch one more Pokemon, so I can help remember the sign if I catch it, hopefully. And we're gonna raid over to Ballistic, who is doing a stream. I think he's 11 hours into this Fortnite stream. is wild.
He's
And he's a friend of our friend Adrian. Adrian often streams with him. So I know him through there. I just thought it'd be fun to give him a little bit of a raid. Yeah, thank you everyone for tuning in tonight, episode 361, Commanders and Ravens NFL playoff victory Monday. We won playoff games in both. We won two out of the four Caps games we talked about, but got points in the other two. And so it's just been a really fun time. We got the return of CP3, return of Sith. Tim got to be here. Thank you, Champ, for doing this segment with me. We had Gil and C4 on the first segment. So thank you everyone for being a part of it, tuning in across all the different platforms. It's been a super fun episode, one that will definitely go down in lore. Hopefully our teams will win next week, and then we get to do it all again. Stay tuned. We'll cover both the Commanders and the Ravens, and it should be a fun one, hopefully. And either way, I'm excited about both of their seasons. And with that, we're gonna raid and have a good night.
Sayonara.